All right. So I think this is a fun idea for like the first actual recording. Um, so doing like our Razzie picks, like running through them. I watched a fuck ton of these. I would say like 90% of the list. I did research the other movies except for Rebel Moon. I think is like the only one I don't know really anything about. But I have picks. I did like an Excel document that has our picks on it. So what we can do is like I'll record your picks like going down the list as you do yours, and then when the actual Razzies happen, I thought it'd be fun to do kind of like a watch along with it.
Sure.
And like just kind of see like how we match up against it, and then I don't know, bet money because that's my new addiction.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, who among us, who among the millennials is not a gambling addict?
you're supposed to be. It's weird not to.
Given the amount of advertisement, the fact that anyone's surviving without gambling right now is kind of impressive.
It's so fucking gross how it's just everywhere.
I know. It's one of the saddest things about modern sports to me is like looking at like the outfield wall at Yankee Stadium, just seeing, don't forget your FanDuel bet. And then the seventh inning stretch, it's, you could play for the parlay today. Aaron Judge will hit 3 home runs. The Marlins will score fewer than 0.5 runs. It's just like, ugh, what are you fucking doing?
It's gross. I get that it does make... Honestly, I've bet on UFC fights before, and I quit while I was ahead. I made money, and then I just never did it again. I turned like $20 into like 150 or something like that, and then I just never did it again. And it does make it like more fun, but it also makes unexpected losses way more fucking annoying. like when someone who should really win the fight doesn't win the fight, especially when it's like some bullshit like an eye poke or a groin kick, or they like, oh my god, they like just like blow out a tendon in their knee out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, there goes $15.
That's it.
Yeah, like that part sucks, but it does make sports more fun. All right, so I figure we'll go like up from the bottom of the list, and so we'll start with screenplay.
Okay.
And yeah, we'll just go through like our picks and like why we're picking them. Do you have the list in front of you, or do you need me to read them off to you?
I'm working off of Wikipedia's 45th Golden Raspberry Awards, which has
Okay.
word screenplay at the bottom.
Okay, good. So it's probably in the same order of what I have. I pulled this from like Vanity Fair or something.
Sounds about right.
And I have some questions when we get to like supporting actor. Like for supporting actor, does Jon Voight have nominations for 4 different movies in the same year for worst actor?
I think that's how I read it, and given how bad he was in Reagan, if he's just as bad in the other 3, it's deserved.
Is Jon Voight? He was the Russian guy in Reagan.
Yeah, he was. He's the framing
narrator?
device of like, have you ever met a spy who's meant to track your every move, who really just wants to fuck you the entire time, just so enamored with your life story? That was his role, yeah. And they also did. Yeah, I can't wait till we get to that movie, just because it was like one of my like best uses of practical effects to make old man look young since The Irishman. Truly beautiful.
I don't know. I might have to change my pick then, because okay, so we'll get to that. Yeah, because he was atrocious in Reagan. Reagan was bad. It was such like, I think it's the worst kind of propaganda where it's just like really translucent. Like you really see through it. Like you're just like, yeah, this is just someone jerking off Reagan's corpse. Like they made him such an American hero, and it's like, I don't know, can we maybe focus on like the AIDS epidemic, or like how like he technically committed high treason? Like it's just, I don't know, a weird person to really. And Jon Voight's character was just so gross in that, with just being like, like he was truly, the force that stopped communism, the one man that the people wanted that we could never defeat. He was a religion in his own. It's like, suck my dick. No one in the fucking KGB said that about Reagan.
I think I've got like 3 to 4 notes about if you have someone who's actively working to subvert you and they say this shit about you, like you're not fighting a real war. It's just such a fantasy. It is such a fantasy.
Yeah, and then the chick, wait, where is she? She had it. Yeah, Leslie Ann Down, who did Margaret Thatcher in Reagan. Like, I feel like I don't see why she's on it, because she literally has like 7 lines in the whole movie, if that. But the one part that I did hate is like when he's doing his speech and he's like, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down the wall. And she's like, way to go, cowboy. And it's just like, shut the fuck up. That, like, stop. This is worse than Blonde. Like,
that's oh, what a gorgeous sentiment. I think one of the more interesting things that'll come up throughout going through all these categories, I think we could also play a mini game of, does this even deserve to rate? Like, did they actually even show up enough to even come up in this category? Or were they that heinous to do it? Or are we simply just trying to add space on a ballot? Because my experience with a lot of the movies we watch is like, some are truly heinous, some are just on here because public sentiment is what it is.
I think
rather
maybe
than
that is.
Yeah, rather than speaking to anything in terms of the quality. And a lot of these are just like, we had to put at least 5. Like, I'm sure Kraven the Hunter bombed. I know it bombed. We all saw that, like, the box office numbers don't lie, but was it actually a bad movie? I don't know. I didn't actually see it. I'm going to have no opinion when it comes to the worst remake, ripoff, or sequel, probably. But
yeah,
we're going to keep seeing that. And one thing I would love to propose up front, this is the game I was withholding from you.
Oh, yeah. What was your thing you talked about?
Yes. So the thing I was going to propose is that when we get to the worst film of the year discussion, we also play so we move on from the sub game of should this even be on the ballot to a new one, which is this movie worse than Blonde? Which I think we can both agree is the worst thing we've ever seen together prior to doing this process.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Like,
although I love Blonde in a weird way.
It is very much a bad movie that is a baffling train wreck. I'll give you that. Yeah. And, you know, we might come up to the answer. It doesn't have to be the binary. We'll figure it out as we're working through it. But in my mind, it's like you just walk through the list and say, is this movie worse than Blonde? And
okay, I'm down.
We'll figure it out when we get there. But until then, shall we kick it off with some screenplays?
Yeah, let's go screenplay. All right. So for screenplay, let me check my list of what I picked for that. For worst screenplay, I went in order down. I picked Reagan.
Interesting.
I think Reagan was just such a fucking bullshit, fake propaganda. Like, this just feels like it was written by, like, a MAGA person that thinks Reagan would have liked Trump. Like, it just feels like this, like, weird, like, I don't know, it's, like, revisionist and so, like, has this pathetic rose-colored lenses of nostalgia for a time that never existed, and it's just dialogue that's like dishonest, and you know, it's just it paints him out to just be such a fucking amazing moral person. And you know, it's like, I get like the USSR was like a legitimate like threat and everything like that, like especially from like a national security standpoint, like just like cultural, but like it just was such, like, it was so one-sided, and none of it felt like just real. And then I didn't like that it like felt really fake, but felt like it was being presented as like an honest telling of Ronald Reagan's life. You know, a person who, like, you know, I've like read articles and seen little documentaries where I've seen multiple historians be like, he was maybe the most destructive president we've ever had to like the American middle class. And I mean, he undermined so many things, and he approached things with such like a simple view that only an actor that becomes a politician could. Like, that it's just, I don't know, it's like it didn't address any of like the nuance of his character. And maybe he does have redeeming traits, but if you're only talking about like the negative, or if you're only talking about like the positive, I don't believe it.
Oh yeah, I'm 100% on board with that. I agree wholeheartedly. This is, of all the movies I've seen recently, like, this is the most that have some sort of at least tenuous connection to wanting to portray history with any amount of accuracy, right? Of all of those, this one is the most fawning of its subject material and the least committed to portraying anything with a realistic light or tint to it, or any semblance of like there might have been something more going on. I think, to me, like, one of the most nail on the head pieces of this movie is that every time we catch Ronnie giving some speech at like the RNC convention or literally wherever, even when it was like that early union fight where he stopped the Reds from infiltrating Hollywood, people would like invariably show scenes of people in diners, in barber shops, just going about their lives and hearing the dulcet tones of Ronald Reagan willing them into understanding that America's still beautiful, brave, and big, and worth so much, and basically that's all his speeches ever amounted to. But they would just stop what they're doing. I vividly remember the fucking barbershop scene where a guy's getting his neck shaved. The barber just turns to the television. The guy getting the shave turns to the television to hear Ronald Reagan spew some nonsense about how who the fuck knows what happened at that moment in time. Like, I'm sure that was probably faithful to his fucking speeches, but it just gives this view of America where it's like, and that's what made Reagan special. He got Americans, and they responded to him. It's just like, the 80s were not an easy time in the U.S. Like, how much did they even talk about the AIDS epidemic?
They glossed over it in the funniest way.
Just fucking, like, they ran a fucking street paver over it, man. Just like, we're gonna barely touch that with any nuance. It was just like, from a perspective of like trying to tell a story, even the framing device of the Russian spy who desperately wanted to know me, in the biblical sense of the term know me, fucking like, just so much of the way the story was constructed was just so exhausting in terms of like, the credibility is like immediately stretched thin in terms of like, we're going to see something interesting about the era, and instead we're just given this picture of, here's the savior of the American Republic on the global stage. God help us, Ronald Reagan's here. So yeah, I think number one with a bullet, it was just such a bad, like, just on the nose, moment to moment, scene to scene story. It was just exhausting. I also thought it was absolutely hilarious when we opened the movie with like 3 or 4 different jumps and layers of flashback where we start, it's the present day, we're meeting John Voight, the old Russian spy, jumps back to 1980, I want to say, where Reagan, like, or maybe that was in the, like, it was so muddy, like the montage of him getting shot.
Yeah, it was really unclear.
Then we just jump back to the 60s where he's talking to First Wife, and then we jump back to the 30s or 40s where he's like a small child with glasses. Like, that all happens in the first 20 minutes, I want to say. The other thing that really struck me as difficult with this particular movie in terms of following along is that if you weren't intimately familiar with Reagan's story already, a lot of this shit's going to be muddy, I would think. Like, the part where they don't even show, like, I remember early, I want to say in the first third of the movie, the first third of this, like, mess, we see, like, Ronald, like, the live footage of Ronald Reagan's assassination attempt, and then, like, it comes in hours later where he's in the hospital, that the assassination attempt has occurred, and now we're in the hospital, and we're at his bedside, and Nancy's so verklempt, and oh my god, trying to shoot our president. But it's like, if you don't have that history up front, like, everything leading up to and everything that was prefaced or up front is just, like, a complete mystery to you. It's like, what am I seeing? What am I looking at? I don't know Reagan's story. I think most of this would just be a vague mess in a lot of instances. I just, what a screenplay.
Yeah, I feel like it trashed its own momentum a lot. Like, with stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's like he gets shot, and then some other shit happens, and then you're back in the hospital. You're like, oh yeah, he got shot. What happened with that? Like, you know, it's like, I'm assuming he lived. But, like, you know, it's just like, yeah, they would, like, kind of get something moving, and then, yeah, it was like this weird, I don't even want to say editing, because I think it was just written that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just the way the scenes were stitched together and what was happening in them was just so, I don't know, what, like, yeah, oof.
It made me think of the storytelling, the lighthouse keeper in Rick and Morty, when he was just like, this was not her day, cut to 3 weeks earlier, you know. Yeah, it's like, and Morty just rolls his eyes like, oh yeah, god, you know. It's like, let's just start our story where the story starts, like, you know. It's like that kind of, yeah, it was like, because then I don't know, there were like so many parts too, like Dana and I were talking about this, where it's just like introducing John Voight's character as this, like, you know, former KGB spy that, like, was just, like, stalking Reagan from, like, the beginning. Like, I love that too. Like, I want to know how real that character is. Like, was there a psychologist that was tracking him from the time that he was an actor? Like, where they were like, this guy's a threat to the Soviet Union. Like, when he was literally, like, the Gipper. Like, I mean, it's just, like, they were like, is that when they were like, oh my god, we gotta watch out for this guy?
I still, oh my god, one of my favorite lines in the movie was the guy that goes to interview John Voight when they were talking about, like, Reagan's early career. I just need to pull, like, it was exceptional to me. like, so this happened around the time where it's like Ronald meets Nancy, and they're, Nancy Douglas Davis, whatever the hell, in the office, and they're doing that horse scene where they're like, I love riding. The fucking guy going to interview John Voight goes, they're just talking about his movie career, and I love the line of, he was a B-movie star. This was well known. Like, there's like this fucking dialogue happening inside the KGB at the time that has been passed down through the generations. Because again, the only reason this dude shows up at Voight's apartment is because he's a young man who needs the story.
Right.
So Reagan is such a monumental figure in this fictional KGB, and I hope if Voight's spy exists, that is one of the funniest things about the Cold War ever.
Yeah.
Objectively. But just the idea that he is so large in the KGB's imagination that the story is passed down to even the recruits today. Ronald Reagan, he was just a B-movie actor. This is well known. He wasn't like an A-list star. We're not saying he was a movie star. We all know Ronald only showed up in B-movies at best, right? Like, that's where he cut his chops. It is so fucking funny to me that, like, even in this story that we're trying to tell, even the enemies want to make sure we're getting it right.
Right.
We're not trying to polish Ron past what he needs to be polished. Like, no. We know what he was. Like, it's just so, oh God.
Yeah, it's the movie's claiming to have a lot of knowledge, but then doesn't seem to. Like, it's just like, yeah, it seems like it's like this is an in-depth portrayal of Ronald Reagan. And like that would have been such a more fascinating movie if they talked about like shit he did that was actually effective, like, or like his negative aspects that they were trying to exploit. Like, that would have been kind of cool. Like, how do you fuck with Ronald Reagan? Like, but just to have them be like, I don't know, man. I get it. Like, it's just that, oh God, like he's just this like this big, like, I don't know. It's almost like it feels like they have a statue out of respect to him in the Red Square. Like,
Right.
like it's like, yeah, like they're just like, he was truly so great that we could never overcome him. Like,
Yep, he was that was our downfall,
I
Truly.
mean, well, like he had dementia and his wife was just deep throating people. Like, it's just, like, I mean,
Maybe that's all it takes to beat a communist autocracy.
Communism does suck.
Yeah, what's gonna win? One demented guy and his wife who knows how to give great head, or an entire, communist autocratic state?
Dementia all day.
Dementia, baby. That's our DraftKings bet of the week.
Yeah, lock it in. That's Draft Queen's parlay.
Actually, yes. Quick sales pitch to you. Actually, a venture idea. Let's find some VC funds and make Draft Queens.
Mm-hmm.
Any love for that notion? That they could be our fake sponsor.
So if Draft Queens, what do we bet on? Like, it can't be sports.
No. I feel like, honestly, I think this is the psychotic conclusion of the betting miasma we find ourselves in. What if you could just make a prop bet about something that's happening in your everyday life that you and your friends can all just sort of agree on? It's like an office pool, like, is Christine going to come in tomorrow wearing pink shoes? Right? Or you set the lines however you want. Why not? Draft Queens. Make it about gossip. Make it about your everyday life. Make it about something silly.
In middle school, we used to do stuff like that. So my friend Brian was always late to class. Mm-hmm. And so this kid Sawyer, he liked to bet on things. And so we used to bet on how late Brian would be to class. We would set the line and then go, like, over under. And then Sawyer didn't know Brian was, like, one of my best friends. And he was just an absolute, like, garbage student, degenerate. Definitely had severe ADHD and extremely bad family background. So I took full advantage of that. And I would just tell him how late to be. And, we would be like, okay, no way will he be 12 minutes late to class. And I'd be like, Brian, you can come in after 13 minutes. And he'd be like, okay. And he would just sit in the bathroom. And then he'd come in, and I'd be like, all right, Sawyer, give me the money. And then I would just split it with Brian. So we were just...
it's important to know how to get your finger really firmly planted on a scale at a young age.
I learned at a young age, man. It helps if the bet has to do with someone that you have influence over. Yeah, I thought Draft Queens could be a fun idea if we were, doing prop bets on how long until America starts getting rid of gay marriage and stuff like that. I feel like the name lends to it right away. But
of course, yeah. But that's I think I don't want to like be in a bit of despair when I'm placing a bet. You know, I want the frivolity of it to still ring true, so I'd avoid something like that personally.
No matter what you're betting on, despair comes in.
Okay. But I mean, hey, if that's how we get the venture funds to flow in and we, you know, hopefully do something really shady, like just copy the entirety of a well-known betting app verbatim, just literally change the font on whatever the word might be. I don't know, something like king to queen, and then just see the money roll in as people place bets on, you know, loss of civil rights or whether or not your friend will be wearing slippers to the office tomorrow.
We'll do both things: personal prop bets and removal of civil liberty.
God, that's got to be an easy pitch.
You know what? Someone will give us money.
Someone will, yeah. This also makes me just wonder broadly how often Vegas takes wagers on like those kinds of ridiculous prop bets. And is prop bet short for proposition bet? I've never known. Never thought
I think
to
so.
ask. Right? Sound feels right. But yeah, I wonder if I can just like walk into a casino and just say, this is who I think is going to win in some like a gubernatorial race in California, let's say, just something random that just popped in my head. Like, could you actually place that bet at a Vegas casino, or like who even takes that action?
I don't know, because I know that's like what made Sam Hyde rich.
Interesting.
He had an interesting series of events. It does stand for proposition bet. I just looked it up. So he got into like a prop bet with someone online that Trump was going to beat Hillary in 2016, and then he won, and he bet like a lot of money. It was like $200,000 or something like that. And he was like so confident. He was like, I absolutely have this. And this guy was trying to be like, you know, fuck you, conservative figure. Like, no way, America's that stupid. Imagine losing $200,000 and then Trump is your president. Oh. And like, just what a double whammy. And so he got the $200K, and then he bought, he put it all into Bitcoin. And then that's when Bitcoin bubbled. He did it right before it blew up, so it became worth like I think a few million or something. Or he bet like, no, I think it was like 200,000. Or he bet like $20K, and then it worked out to be like a few $100,000 or like a couple million or something. I know. I mean, he's talked about openly how he's like a millionaire now, and like it's all because he did a prop bet on a presidential race.
That's a gorgeous way to make money in this country. Out of all the ways you could make your millions.
That's such a modern American story, though, to be like, I bet on Trump and then invested in crypto.
Yeah,
Got so rich.
I mean, the easiest layup of a joke, too, is like, yeah, no, he did it right before the Bitcoin bubble. It's like, which fucking one, dude? Like
the one where it went to like $65K a coin.
It's one of those. Yeah, sure. Why not?
He sold it the highest value it's ever.
No, I believe it. I believe it. Yeah, for me, that's just my personal exhaustion with the topic of cryptocurrency coming through. Just like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm gonna liquidate my 401k and put it all into Doge. I have a good feeling about that. I think it's gonna come around now. I think honestly, with Elon controlling the treasury, we're gonna see Doge become worth a lot more. He's gonna have money to finance it. So
what
like,
if that? Oh God! What that just become? All right, it's good.
That's our money going forward.
That's it's exactly what I was thinking too. We're moving off the dollar. We're going to the Doge.
Today's sponsor is Doge.
Oh Jesus Christ! The idea of having to rely on a blockchain transaction to like go across the street and buy a fucking soda from
like
the corner
gum.
store. Yeah, no, I need this gum. All right, let's wait for this fucking database to update before I can even give you shit. Instead of just the breezy, easy, beautiful, I throw my fucking piece of plastic on the receiver. It goes beep, and I'm out of there. You know?
Or here's a dirty coin that I don't want.
Oh yeah, filthy singles or quarters. That was a pastime of mine. Just take a pile of quarters, go across the street, get a soda. Oh, loved it.
I remember one time buying a lot of cat food with nothing but dimes, and they were so angry at me at the grocery store, and people kept offering to buy it for me.
Oh,
and
my
I was
God.
like, no, and I looked bad. I was like in pajamas, tired, hungover, and I was just like using like spare change to buy some cat food, and I was like, yeah, I have like 1,000,000 dimes. I'm gonna get rid of these, and they weren't rolled. So I had to like, so I made like little stacks at the register at ShopRite or whatever it was in Mawa. And this lady in front of me, I mean, super sweet lady, just kept being like, can I please just buy this for you? Like, I was like, yeah, I know I look like a homeless pet owner, but like, I'm just using my change. Like, I'm just trying to like get rid of my change is all. Like,
I just need to get rid of my change. Stop asking if I need a sandwich, please.
everyone's like, "Are you okay?" Yeah, I mean, then I'm like, "What am I gonna say no to a sandwich?" Like, I was also like the skinniest I ever was. I was like 160 pounds.
Oh my god, on your frame?
On my frame, so I looked gaunt, and like, I mean, like my face was like so sunk in. Like, I see pictures from back then, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like my ribs were sticking out and shit, and it was just because I don't know, I was living a broke ass life and just didn't, prioritize food over other things. And I was just, it was just such an embarrassing moment of just like when someone just thinks you're 100% homeless, and you're like, I'm not eating the cat food, by the way. Like,
it's like, can I get that for you? It's like, oh, don't worry, it's not for me. Like that's where your brain goes.
Like, yeah, it was not a proud moment. Like, it was one of those ones where I felt fine until she offered to pay. Yeah. And like, sometimes charity can be really damaging.
I was having a great day before someone thought I was buying this for me.
It's my day off, lady. It's cold out. Like, I'm in two pairs of sweatpants because it's like 30 degrees outside. I mean, it was like North Jersey in the winter, so it's probably like 15 degrees. Yeah. Like, God, I'm cold. What do you want?
I'm cold. I want to be cozy. Can we make it simple?
Cats are hungry. Like, God damn it. Like, yeah, that was a rough one. All right. So are we locking in for worst screenplay? You're Reagan?
I'm 100% on Reagan. Yeah. So working through the rest of the list, full disclosure, haven't seen Craven, haven't seen Megalopolis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a disservice to the integrity of this, but fuck that. Madam Web and Joker Folie à Deux, I don't think their screenplays are what make them bad movies, quote unquote. Again, I don't even know if Joker's a bad movie per se. I have very specific opinions about Madam Web in that regard. But, like, the things that were frustrating about those movies, I don't think were, like, the way the story played out, the way people acted within those scenes, given the frame of, like, how they're supposed to deliver and, like, what's happening in that moment. They don't come close to what we just described in terms of this fawning, exhaustingly long as well, just jack-off session to the president of the 80s and apparently the guy that took out the USSR single-handedly. Like, I couldn't really see an argument otherwise. He did it all himself.
Ronald Reagan single-handedly cucked Gorbachev. And amazing. It's truly a hero. Oh, God, I would watch that. Yeah, I mean, I think, like, for Madam Web and Craven the Hunter, so I saw Madam Web, I had to because it was in the worst picture. Craven the Hunter, I've seen some breakdowns of it. I watched, like, bits here and there. I did watch Pitch Meeting. I don't know if you watched those sketches. I think I've sent you one or two before, but maybe. It's this guy who used to work for Screen Rant. He just does these little, like, comedy things where it's a writer pitching to the movie executive the idea for the movie. And what's funny is he actually does like pretty accurate breakdowns of like plot holes and everything in it, but it's like enthusiastically as if it's a good thing. And his one with Craven the Hunter, I was like, it can't be that bad. And then like I looked up chunks of the movie and just watched like some of it, and I was just like, oh yeah, it is like that fucking stupid. Like they do a lot of shit where they like introduce something and then it's completely irrelevant. Like it's so like they do a lot of like he constantly states directly, like staring the like straight down cannon, I'm the best tracker in the world. I'm the best tracker in the world. And then it's like so then he spent like a couple years tracking this woman down. It's like, well, why did it take so long? I don't know, she's hard to find. But I thought he's like the best tracker in the world. Yeah. Is she like hidden really well? No. Okay. And then why is he tracking her down? Because he needs help tracking someone. But he's the best tracker. Like, it's just like a lot of that. And then like the big fight at the end, like there's this guy who turns himself into a rhino. And like he like fights the guy and he goes to stab him and he's like, you can't pierce my armored skin. And then do you know how he kills him like minutes later? He stabs him.
Whoa!
And it's like, what happened to the armored skin? So, like, Craven, I'll say, like, in terms of writing, does sound worse than Madam Web. Madam Web, I don't think, like, established things and then shit on them immediately. Like, it didn't seem amazing. Like, I didn't like Madam Web. It was hard to watch. It took me 2 separate sit-downs to get through it. but, like, Craven the Hunter did seem like, I would say it was probably, like, the second worst movie on this list for screenplay, because it was just, like, stop telling me things and then breaking it. Like, if you're gonna be as like brazen as to just exposition dump on me, don't then like immediately invalidate it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're saying it, then it has to be true. There's no assumption. It's not like I saw the guy survive a blade and then something else happened. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe for some reason that stabbing worked. It's like, no, you said you can't. Like, so it's just, I don't know. Or like, yeah, it's all this shit about how he's the best tracker in the world, but he doesn't seem very good at it. And it's just weird. Yeah, Joker, I agree, we'll talk about that movie a little bit later. I think it was a creative screenplay. I didn't see any plot holes or anything.
Yeah,
I don't see any big flaw to it.
Yeah. No. Yeah, and the scenes themselves, yeah, it was fine.
It was fine, yeah. I mean, maybe the musical numbers weren't seamlessly worked into it, but yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I would think is some of the musical cuts were kind of janky. But and then like Megalopolis, honestly, I've been like, because like I think it's amazing that neither of us were able to find it.
Yeah, that speaks volumes, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was apparently like a big reluctance to even distribute this movie. So like theaters actually weren't taking it because they did not expect it to do well. They didn't think people would want to see it. And there's a YouTube channel. I watched her video on Megalopolis today. She did a really interesting, like, comprehensive 1-hour review of like the movie, the history of the making of the movie, Coppola himself, the source material, like the book that was like the main inspiration used for it. Finally, what was it? It was like 12 Men Against Gods or whatever. Famously, one of Elon Musk's favorite books. And yeah, it's as complicated as you would think. It's about, you know, misunderstood men taking down an unjust system and
hell yeah,
being like benevolent dictators, essentially.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah. And it just sounds like, I mean, even in her review, like, she was just like, although this movie like fucked up because of stuff, like, it was still at least like unique and interesting. So it's like, I would even say, like, of going in order of like worst to best, I would say Reagan's probably worse. Craven number 2, Madame Web, Megalopolis, and then Joker. Yep. Like, I think that's probably the order, and I can say that without seeing 2 of them, I think.
For sure, yeah. I mean, my opinion is going to be pretty limited. I only saw 3 out of those 5, Craven and Megalopolis being the, as mentioned, misses. And again, I just got a really distinct feeling like there's an interesting thing happening with most of the or at least 40% of the candidates here, where it's like negative public opinion is the only thing that put them on here. If we step back from that and just looked at them as creative works purely and only, like, I don't think realistically Joker or Megalopolis is ever going to be the worst screenplay in a given year, unless like literally every single movie that comes out that year is in contention for being in AFI top 100, right? Like, there's no universe where either of those movies are so just down in the dumps bad at stitching together a story moment to moment that they belong on this list.
Yeah, and something that bothers me with this too is like I don't understand how the Razzies go with their nominations. Like, and we'll get into that more in like a later section. Like, there's a movie where I didn't understand why someone was nominated, because like if you're nominating kids movies for Razzies, like there were definitely worse kids movies like than Megalopolis. Like, I mean, Unfrosted, Harold and the Purple Crayon, Dear Santa, those were all really stupid movies. Like, I watched them and I was like, yeah, I get they're for kids, but they were not good, you know? It's like they were still just like not good movies. And so I don't understand like how you would take Megalopolis, which seems like it was trying to do something interesting, and I don't know, I was like watching all the clips of it and it's like there seemed to be some like pretty cool visual stuff. Like, there were, even the chick when she made so the YouTube video, I don't remember if I said the name of it, it's her channel's Be Kind Rewind. And she's specifically very interested in Coppola, so she does a lot of videos about him, positive and negative. And like, she even was like highlighting, she was like, yeah, there were like some really beautiful shots, like it looked really good, it was an interesting idea, although like incoherent. So it's like, how do you, I think public perception is just like, it got toasted at the like film festivals, and then people just wanted to shit on it because it's easy to be like, wow, this like famous director who sold his wine company to make this movie made a failure at the end of his life. I don't know, it seems like, I don't know, he has like some things about him that I really respect too. Like, he really believes in like trying to like pay people well, and like I don't know. That's another story we can get into with like his like failed studio and how he tried to have it be like employee owned.
Oh God, yeah, no, treat everybody with dignity and respect. What was it? So not Rotoscope. I feel like it was something Scope Pictures.
With a Z, I think.
Oh, Zoetrope, maybe?
I think Zoetrope. I think it's something like that. Yeah, I just watched a documentary with this like an hour ago too. I should have that down a little better. But.
No, I know. Yeah, and it's also I remember their one film was like is it One from the Heart? I just remember it was like a musical in Vegas.
Yeah, people hate it.
Yeah, it's I remember that part too. Yeah, but it's sad to see someone put forward the effort of like, what if everybody was qualified, paid well, and made something they really wanted to work on? It's like a dream. I love that idea. Please do it. And then it just turns out they make something everybody hated. And it's like, well, there's no second chances apparently when you have massive budgets and needs to make back as much money as humanly possible, if not exceed everything you've ever possibly put into a project.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, I do think that like his failure kind of outlined like the necessity of having. Sorry, the cats are playing with a ping pong ball. Of having a money guy, like having a non-artistic businessman, having like a call, like a say in it. Because a lot of his projects, the reasons why like his career got so fucked is he would make these big movies. Like what was the one? It's like Star or something. I can't remember the name of it now. I can like picture the clips from it from the documentary I just watched. But it was like a budget in what was it, like the 80s or the 70s or like late 70s? It was $28 million.
Whew.
And it's like back then movie tickets were what? 15 cents? Like, you know, it's like good luck making that back, you know? It's like you need someone just being like, hey, we don't need to like build this enormous set for one scene. It's not necessary, you know? It's like, yeah, so I think that'd be like a fun conversation for like another recording, but I don't know. Megalopolis, I have a feeling I'm not going to completely hate it when I do see it, but I do think it's funny as shit that no streaming service is picking it up and you literally can't pay for it anyway.
Right, yeah. And I have no idea. It's all speculation, I think, at this point as to why that's the case, so we can refrain from delving too deep into those waters, but it is... Like, I guess we should have pulled the trigger 2 months ago. I know it was streaming back in December, but here we are now.
Yeah, like I think because even like we have the Amazon TV and you can search and it's like, do you want to rent it? And you click and it's literally just like, no one has this. Like there's like you can't even go to like Peacock or Pluto and watch it with like a fuck ton of commercials. Like there's nothing. Yeah, so I don't know. I wonder about that movie. For the prequel, remake, ripoff, or sequel,
Sir.
I went, and again, I only know a couple of these really that well. I didn't see the whole thing, but I did watch a good chunk of it, watch some breakdowns of it, a lot of reviews. My guess for the winner is going to be, and this is also like not exactly just my pick, this is what I think is going to win, The Crow.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard it's just such an underwhelming, childish piece of shit. And everything that I saw from it looks like fucking crap.
I remember seeing a preview trailer for The Crow. I want to say when I went to go see... Oh, heck. What was it in theaters? There's no way it was Zone of Interest. That would be such a jarring juxtaposition.
That'd be amazing.
I don't know which theater would do that. Heck, I'd have to check and see what I saw in theaters the past year. I've got a list somewhere.
To see, what is it, Is it Machine Gun Kelly was in The Crow? Was that?
I want to say, I know just because we're looking at the list that, I don't know, I've never known how to pronounce that name. FKA Twigs, Ficka Twigs, is that it? I know she was like the love interest in that. But yeah, I think it might be MGK. If not, someone who looks an awful lot like him.
Yeah, I feel like it was him. To see his face before seeing Zone of Interest is amazing. If
that was the case, that would be Buck.
Let me see. It was Bill Skarsgård. Wow.
Oh, sure, why not? Oh, it was probably before Maxine would be my guess.
Okay.
The third movie in the Pearl Maxine trilogy. I forget if that has a good name or not for it, but I've never known.
Yeah, I forget what they call it. Yeah, I liked Maxine.
Pearl good. Pearl very good. Maxine was just a little okay for me. I was hoping it'd be more, but it was fine. But anywho, yeah, that's the only context I had for The Crow is that one trailer, and just thought Okay, you can make this again. I've only ever known it by reference from the fucking Gen Xers and older who loved referencing the attire of the main character of the Crow. And I think the original Crow was, I want to say...
It was Bruce Lee's kid.
Yeah, Brandon Lee?
Brandon Lee. Yeah,
Brandon I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah, again, those are the only pieces of like cultural ephemera I know about it. Why not? I have no dog in this race. I don't think Joker's going to win. I had no idea. Like, I'm surprised Kraven the Hunter's in here. Cause if you told me that it was a remake, or a sequel, I'd be stunned. And I have no idea what it's ripping off. Maybe it's like the comics that they're upset about. But all right.
I don't know. Yeah, I was trying to figure that out too, because it's like it's just a Spider-Man villain.
I guess it's technically, I don't know what it would be ripping off. Unless there's like something obvious where it's like, as it turns out, if you really look at this movie, it's basically like what if we did Predator, but from the perspective of the Predator instead of the humans trying to fight him, some type shit. And it's ripping that off, but that seems weak to me, even as I say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, to me, the mean-spirited nature of this would lend itself to it not being Mufasa or Rebel Moon 2. Mostly because Rebel Moon 2, it's like, maybe Rebel Moon's bigger than I could ever possibly understand. I'm willing to admit that. But I can't see that winning over something that has more cultural cachet in my mind than, like, The Crow. And Mufasa, it's like, who the fuck cares, probably. It's probably no worse than the live-action Lion King that came out. That got memed to hell and back. Like,
yeah. Yeah, I watched some stuff on Mufasa. I don't know. It seems stupid, but I can't imagine caring about it.
Right, that's the other really important thing to think about here too, I think.
Yeah, a lot of these nominations, like when we get to like worst actor, there's two movies where I really have that opinion where I'm just like, how the fuck do like adults care enough to like nominate these things? Where it's just like, I don't know, man, it's like it's made for kids. Like I get kids movies can be good, but like let's be honest, most of them aren't. Like it's just like most of them aren't very complex. Like it's designed for a child, it's I don't know. It's chicken fingers. Like it's something a kid will consume. It's not like going to be an amazing gourmet thing. So, yeah, like Kraven the Hunter, Rebel Moon, Mufasa. I'm immediately just like, I don't know. It's kid shit. Like, how deep is it supposed to be?
Yep.
The Crow was an interesting move for me though, because like they've tried to do remakes of The Crow and they always do terribly. And it's just like, why did you do it again? Especially when studios are being like so careful with everything and not doing anything original. Like, why would you pick something where all the remakes are famously shitty and stupid? Like, just leave it alone.
Beats the hell out of me.
Yeah, it's like
hell out of me.
They try to bring it back and it never works. Are you locking in The Crow?
I'll lock in The Crow, baby. Let's do it.
So far, we are 2 for 2 agreeing on that.
All right. I guess on my end, this would take us to the worst screen combo.
Yeah, that's what I have next.
All right, and for those at home, we have any two obnoxious characters, but especially anytime we see Jack Black in Borderlands. Any two unfunny, quote-unquote, comedic actors in Unfrosted. The entire cast of Megalopolis, which feels egregious for a category called combo.
Yeah, what the fuck? I didn't like that.
They're going wild with it. And then we're back to actual duos for our final two entries, which are Joaquin and Lady Gaga in Joker 2, or Dennis Quaid and Penelope Ann Miller as Ronnie and Nancy in Reagan. I'm going to kick this off. This one's actually, to me, a little bit more of a contest. Again, to me, Joker's just on here because of the hate. Like, I think they worked perfectly fine together on screen in that movie. I didn't see anything egregious about it.
Yeah, I agree.
There's nothing on there that, like, to me, the spirit of this category is like when you see these two characters strut on the screen, or this combination of characters on the screen, you're like now suddenly struggling to keep yourself in the movie, and that's like fine. That's the way I'm taking it. So to me, it realistically comes down to Ronald and Nancy Reagan, or now the hard thing with Borderlands is that I don't know which two characters did it the best, and what we're trying to talk about here is push you away from continuing with the movie. in my heart of hearts, it's going to be like basically Borderlands here, just by virtue of one of the things I found most exhausting about the movie is that there were no performances in there that made me feel like we were trying to get a good story out the door. Like, I think that was like, as a deeply disinterested person when it comes to the entire Borderlands universe, it's already a hard sell for me to give a shit. But just seeing the people on screen act Borderlands light, right? Like, I think that was also one interesting thing too, where it's like there's a certain level of like, trying to think of the nicest way to put this, juvenile feistiness, let's say, to how people act in that universe, and every character that was on screen that could have offered that either went just didn't bring any of that to the fore. Like, Claptrap was probably the closest to getting it right, but Claptrap fundamentally is an annoying fucking character, so it's like, what are we doing? Sure, anytime Claptrap's on screen, add another character in there, it's probably going to be bad.
Yeah, I know, but that's like the point of the character, too. It's like, his name is Claptrap, you know?
He did it so well. He made me so mad. Right? Like, maybe.
Did the right thing.
Oh, he did so well. I guess for me, in this case, if I had to put like gun to head two people, it would definitely be Cate Blanchett's Lilith in combination with... Hell, I don't know. Toss up. Lilith plus any of the other core characters who are trying to do the right thing, be the good guys. Just the life consistently got sucked out of that movie every time Lilith was on screen and trying to emote, it felt like. Because that was played in such a exhausted and tired way to me. Like, there was nothing there that made me feel like the story is happening and it matters and we care. It was just sort of like delivery after delivery after delivery, and just, yeah. So Lilith plus the rest of the cast to me would be my lock-in for Borderlands as worst combo. It's just nothing took the air out of the room quite like seeing Lilith show up and then have to interact. If it had to be one character, let's go with Claptrap, but just, oh my god. Borderlands, nobody wanted to be there. To me, that's the fundamental core of that movie. Nobody wanted to be there. Everyone's here for the check, and woof.
Yeah, that movie, we saw it in theaters, and I remember just sitting there with, like, literally my jaw just hanging open. And we saw it knowing it was going to be awful. Like, we went, because, you know, Dana and I love playing the Borderlands games together. So we're like, all right, let's go see it. We know it's not going to be anything like the game. We're not like, oh, no, they weren't, like, honest this game. Because we like the gameplay of shooting. Like, we don't like the characters. And well, the story in 2 is fine. But, like, we don't like the characters. Like, I hate Tiny Tina. You know, it's like, I think Tiny Tina sucks. So to see her suck in the movie, I'm like, oh, that's accurate. But
you nailed it.
Yeah, like, I don't know. If I was to say the worst combo in Borderlands, I think Lilith, because she did the worst job portraying the movie character.
Sure. Like,
she definitely did the worst job. And then I think Tiny Tina. I would say her and Tiny Tina, especially just for, like, their ending together didn't make any sense. But I don't know. I'll get into that when we talk about worst picture, because I'm assuming we probably have the same pick for worst picture. But my pick for worst combo, I had this down earlier today, is Dennis Quaid and Penelope Miller for Ronnie and Nancy, specifically because, like, they felt like they were trying. So it's like, it's the bigger fail, right? Like, because it's like with the Borderlands ones, I actually think saying especially Jack Black is, I think he did a good job being a shitty, annoying Claptrap, because Claptrap you are supposed to just hate. Like, no one cares in the game if Claptrap dies. Like, people, like, good guys just shoot him sometimes because they just think he's just so annoying and they just want to get rid of him. Like, you know, he leans into that, like, you know, using, like, his shrill yelling voice from a distance and stuff. That's, like, comedy, I guess. But yeah, I agree. Like, Borderlands, no one wanted to be there, so, like, how bad can you judge that? Like, you know, it's like, I guess, like, that does make it kind of the worst. But, like, at the same point, it's like, I know Cate Blanchett can act. So to see her show up and do that, and I think it was within the same year I watched her in Tar.
Oh God.
And so it's just like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, which, like, I don't know, leans into being like a little bit pissed, but then also being like, okay, well, I know she's not that bad at acting, so like, what was going on behind the picture? I blame Eli Roth for a lot of the bullshit that was going on that set.
It could be him. It could have been the fact that Gearbox's president Randy Pitchford was on set, adding his opinion to everything as well. I've heard that before. About
oh, was he? Because I heard he was really off of it.
Oh,
that's interesting.
I heard otherwise. Yeah, that might be just because I don't know. I didn't follow this necessarily from the movie production perspective. I followed it from I listen and watch a lot of content around video games, so they were more than happy to like dig into the deets of how this movie production broke down. Yeah, I can't remember a specific source right now, but that might be the place it happens. Although your Kate Blanchett comment made me think like. I guess we call it like the heaven and hell double feature for an actor, where you put them up in their like best shining moment, and then you see them at their lowest. I think for her, like Tar and Borderlands might be the pair. I wonder if you could start cooking those up, because Tar, oh my God,
did Tar come out in 2024?
No, that was I want to say 2022.
22? That long ago, really?
I really feel like it was a 22, but I could be.
Oh, you're right, 22. Yeah.
Woo!
Okay, I was gonna say, damn, if that was the same fucking year.
Dude, imagine doing that in the same calendar year.
Performance of a lifetime. Absolute. And then another, in a way, performance of a lifetime.
Yeah, no, I think that might be the rare instance where someone would be up. Oh, Todd Field was the director for Tar. That might be the rare moment where you're nominated for a Razzie for Worst Actress and a Oscar for Best. Like, I think that'd be unprecedented, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that would be a fucking cool year. Yeah, so with Borderlands, like, I'm hesitant to pick Borderlands just because it's like, I don't know, it's like, I mean, I could give it to Tiny Tina and Kevin Hart interacting.
Sure.
Because I think Kevin Hart did a garbage job, and this is actually him trying to not be Kevin Hart, and so I do think he was kind of trying to act. Like, and yeah, there's just so much stuff. Him being like the tough guy soldier is just still so funny. And I just, like, one fact I just have to get out because we're just talking about pairings in that movie. I love that in that movie, Roland is 1 inch shorter than Tiny Tina.
Fuck yeah, bro.
I remember looking that up and being thrilled. I was like, what stupid casting. And like, yeah, like, I don't know if you know this, but in the game, like, there's like a statue of Roland and Tina together. I don't know if it's from like the first game or something, but she's literally sitting on one of his shoulders like a cat. Like, he's supposed to be a huge dude. Like, it was a comically bad casting. But today I watched Unfrosted, and holy shit, that movie's so bad. Like, it's so bad. Jerry Seinfeld is trash. He is really bad at acting. And then the chick from she was in Saturday Night Live, and then she was in Bridesmaids. She was in the Ghostbusters movie. She's like the heavier one.
I'm cheating only just because I'm looking at Wiki right now because I have yet to see this movie. Obviously, I'm guessing you're talking about Melissa McCarthy.
Yes, Melissa McCarthy. Thank you. I knew it was Melissa. They have such a lack of like comedic chemistry. It's unreal. Like, how bad it was. Like, watching, I was like, wow, this is like, and he's proud of this movie. Like, and there's so much talent in that movie, like, legitimately good, like, comedians and actors. It was so many very talented people were involved, and they turned out just garbage. Amy Schumer in it is just so bad. Like, so I'm tempted to give it to that, but I have to just say the fact that, like, Reagan isn't a comedy, I've got to go Dennis Quaid, Penelope Ann Miller. There was one scene where Dana out loud and Penelope said something. They're like on the plane, and she's like, Ronnie, they're trying to take you down. They're trying to dismantle your legacy. And Dana goes, wow, that was bad acting. Like, she just said it out loud. Like, it was like they were both trying and terrible. And I feel bad for Dennis Quaid because Reagan's a tough character to play. Like, because he has such a unique way of speaking that, like, accurately portraying Reagan is almost going to always come across as, like, this stupid, campy thing because he was like, Mr. Gorbachev. Like, you have to sound stupid to sound accurate. But yeah, I don't know. For me, I honestly, it's mostly because of Penelope Ann Miller. I think that was like the worst dramatic acting that I've maybe ever seen. I can't actually like nail down any other time where she ripped me out of every scene. Like, I was just constantly, whenever she would speak, I'm like, did they just do no second shots? Was it just like, let's see if she gets it in one? Like, it was unreal. Yeah, so I gotta go them. I'm going Quaid and Penelope.
Right on. It's a compelling choice. Don't get me wrong. They were woof. I mean, just incredibly bad. And yeah, they're just not especially. To me, the reason I pulled away from them as a choice is that it felt like throughout Reagan, even though I'm watching what is, again, a massive effort at just goosing a dead man's legacy, I felt like I understood what they were going for, and the fact that Penelope Ann Miller's character was portrayed the way she was portrayed made sense in the context of, like, you know, the jack-off session that was the entire movie. But I can completely understand how it's just like, and that's how I'm reminded that I am watching a propaganda film, is Penelope Ann Miller comes on and says, "You're attacking your legacy."
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And it's like the way she delivered these lines at times made me feel it was like she was trying to not be heard. Like, have you ever seen people's TikToks where it's like, it's very obviously like a kid recording a TikTok in his room, and so he's like trying to like rap or do a scene from like a movie or whatever, but you can tell like they don't want anyone to hear, so they're just like, yeah, and then I'm gonna fuck them up. Like, you know, there's no like projection of the voice because you're concerned about someone hearing you from your bedroom. Like, it was the scene on the plane on Air Force One. It, like, the way she did it, it was like she was trying to project but like speak under her breath a little. It was really weird. It was, yeah, it was bad. So wait, so your pick was Borderlands, Lilith, and anyone? Is that what we're locking in?
You can lock in Lilith and anyone. I don't really care who they wind up picking, but I'm assuming it's going to be Lilith.
All right. Yeah. I mean, did you see when Cate Blanchett... I was watching like breakdowns of it, and I love that also I just fucking choked and slurred my word as I'm making fun of her for it. When she slurred her name, there's like a scene where she goes, "Oh, Lilith." Like, she just like...
Beautiful.
And it's like, yeah, like a fucking $100 million movie. You're not like, hey, Lil, just one more. Like, let's just get that out there. Like, let's just try to fix that.
The movie's loud enough. No one's going to hear.
Who's going to notice? So, thanks, Eli. And so, on to that, we have director. So, we have S.J. Clarkson from Madame Web, Francis Ford Coppola from Megalopolis, Todd Phillips for Joker Philadelphia, Eli Roth for Borderlands, and Jerry Seinfeld for Unfrosted.
Good on Jerry for putting himself in his own movie.
Yeah, you know, someone had to. It's the only way he's getting in a movie. He is not talented.
All right, where's your heart taking you?
I mean, immediately Eli Roth, because I think so many things are forgivable for Borderlands because of what Eli Roth did to the production process. Like, I followed that story a lot. I mean, the fact that the original screenplay was done by, I can't remember his name now, but he's the screenplay writer that did most of the first season of The Last of Us.
Okay.
He's like a really talented writer. And the fact that Eli changed it so much that he said, take my name off of it.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Like, people involved were like, yeah, he wrote like a cool story, and he actually like played the games and researched them and talked to devs and writers and fans, and like he did the work. And then Eli Roth scrapped it and wanted to make his own thing. And then I think that just kind of started the end, and then they had to do reshoots, and there was just like all this shit with it, and it's just like the reason the movie is, it's almost hard to pick them as like being the worst is because it's not their fault, it's Eli's fault. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I mean, interesting. So I'm curious, like, the nature of like the screenwriter coming in and after the fact saying, I refuse to be associated with this, don't add my name to it. is that an act of a director, or is that an act of a screenwriting atrocity? Right, like if we're like weighing this up as a war crime, is this a director stepping in too much, or is this someone making a screenwriting atrocity?
I think that's a director being too hands-on. So, like, where I would put that is, your job is to just direct, he wrote it. And then your ego is like, I need to direct my vision, and I can't make my vision with what he wrote. So to me, it reminds me of, like, micromanaging, right? So it would be like, if all right, so like I'm an analyst, I'm at work, I do a big data thing in Excel, and I get this whole document together, and then the director comes in, literally his title's the director, and he comes in and he trashes this document, this tool that I built, this like whole analysis. That wasn't a failing of him as an analyst. Like, he doesn't suddenly become an analyst because he did it. He's still the director doing a bad thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I see it. Yeah. I see the vision. So with that in mind, I don't know if I wholly agree. Because I think S.J. Clarkson in my heart is mostly because I'm not seeing an obvious place for where we can talk about the edit, and I think directing and edit, shot selection might have a slightly higher correlation than anywhere else, but Madam Web to me was one of the most baffling things I watched, just because up front I think everything about how the movie decides to introduce us to our main character feels like it's almost poised to make us hate everything Dakota Johnson's doing on screen. Mm-hmm. She is given the role of a deeply put upon lead, where it's like everything that's happening to her in her life is this big fucking unwanted and unexpected obligation. Like, she is just so exhausting to be with in all of those moments. That might be more of the acting, but in general, it's just sort of like, to me, in terms of the direction, it's like we're being introduced to our hero. I feel like this might be an opportunity for us to show who she is wholly as a character, instead of just giving her this sort of tight rope to walk in the early scenes. I think a lot of the like choices and how the movie decides to use visual language to depict like Madam Web awakening to her ability to see into the future are all deeply exhausting, like, and sickening at some points too. The way the camera elects to move and like whip around and just like, I felt like more often than not in that movie where there's just like really inexplicable like camera whips, doors getting slammed right on the lens. It felt like in certain moments, like I remember vividly like one of the ambo scenes where like we're like literally have the camera get slammed on by a couple of ambulance doors. It's like, holy shit, why are we just so like just trying to jar the audience as the movie flows? Just so many moments of that movie where it's just like, what was the actual intent here, and why did it come out this way? Like, I was surprised how many times I asked myself throughout that movie. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the most baffling things, and I don't know where this falls in terms of blame, but out of all the movies I saw for the purpose of this, that was the movie where we had the most like aggressive ADR out of anything. There were so many moments in that movie where it very clearly should have been set up as camera, you know, just like two characters staring at each other, cameras positioned behind one with their back to us, camera pointed at someone who's talking, where inexplicably the shot would reverse and the person who's talking has now got their back to the camera, so we can't see their mouth moving, and it's very clearly a different like studio quality and grade to what they're saying. Like, I just, and to me it's like very, I don't know if it was like a hard time catching when they were actually on location or what happened to the actual audio in those moments, but so many times in that movie we were just brought to a scene, especially with the villain, where he is not talking, it's not recorded live, and his lips might be doing something, but we're getting something completely different. It's just also just the way the movie was. I felt like there could have been something interesting there. I think it's the reason why it strikes me as like the worst direction was coming from Madam Web, because like what we really have at its core is it could have been a movie with an interesting premise of what if Spider-Man was trying to kill you and stalk you and hunt you as prey. That's kind of cool to me at a baseline level. Mm-hmm. And what we got out of it was a plucky teen superhero movie with a very put upon I guess, guardian angel figure with Dakota Johnson, and a villain who, I don't know, he's just kind of evil and has some of the worst moments of, like, again, I just don't understand how a movie gets to completion where you suddenly have this, like, desperate need to, all right, we can't use this shot because we see his lips moving really, really flappy, and the audio did not come through, and I guess we just got to get him in a booth and paste that over. We got to use this B-roll here of, yeah, I know we're not looking at him at all, and he's talking off screen, but this is the best we can do. We're just going to have to dub him off screen and make it happen. So Madam Web was just the biggest train wreck in terms of things that I could see happen on the screen that were just like, why are we doing this? Who is this for? A lot of who is this for during that movie.
Yeah, man, I have to agree with, the dubbing and stuff, especially the villain, that, like, jumped off the screen at me. Mm-hmm. Like, I was like, wow, they really, very poorly dubbed in his lines. Like, yeah, the way they, like, added him in speaking was terrible. I fully agree with that. I can respect it. Yeah, I can respect that pick. I agree with the comment, too, about, like, there not being an editing part.
Yeah.
Because I remember thinking to myself, I was just, like, watching it, my first thought was, like, oh, I'm going to pick this for editing. Because it was so jumpy and shaky, like, kind of, like, motion sickness inducing. Like, it was really shitty. Yeah, it was really poorly made movie. Fully agree with you on that. Yeah, to the point where, like, I can almost... No, I can't say I hated it more in Borderlands, and I ultimately view that as all being Eli Roth's fault. So I have to stick with that. You almost persuaded me to switch, but... Oof. No, I agree. I mean, yeah, the character's hard to care about. The audio is really bad. The editing is really bad. You're assuming that he's probably, like, involved in control in that. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? I'll wait until we get to Worst Picture, because I assume we're going to kind of just talk about, like, each movie a little bit. Yeah, there was one thing that, like, I hated so much in this movie, and I get you have to do it, but God, there was one thing I just, it stood out so much to me and made me really hate the movie the whole way through. We'll get back to that one though, but because I'll save that for the Worst Picture part, because it's kind of like the whole movie, not the director. All right, so we're locking in for S.J. Clarkson.
Madam Web for me, yeah.
All right, I can respect that choice. I can respect that one. Let's see. We got supporting actress now. Oh, hey, Dante. So we got Ariana DeBose for Argyle and Kraven the Hunter. See, I hated this also, that you could nominate an actress for, like, more than one. Dante, do not bite my headphones. That you could, like, nominate like an actress or something for more than one movie was kind of a weird. That was kind of like a weird thing to me, because it's just like, I don't know. Like, I was gonna watch Argyle. Dante, seriously, stop. Here, go play with pills. He loves pill bottles.
Good for him.
Yeah, he's a good cat. Sorry, I took some of the pills. So, like, Ariana DeBose for, like, Argyle and Kraven the Hunter. I feel like Argyle is supposed to be like more of a sincere movie. I don't know anything about it. That's the one I didn't have time to, like, check out. Kraven the Hunter, it's like a kid's action movie. Leslie Ann Down as Margaret Thatcher and Reagan. Barely on screen, but she was awful. Emma Roberts in Madame Web. Amy Schumer in Unfrosted, and FKA Twigs in The Crow.
I need closure on this now, so I'm actually going to see if we got a pronunciation guide.
For which one? Debussy?
Twigs.
Twigs?
I just need to know how am I supposed to pronounce it.
She's Twigs to me, dude.
She's just Twigs to
She's
me.
Twigs, get over it.
Alright. I have lost interest. Just Twigs to this guy?
It's Twigs. She's Twigs.
She's 37. That's surprising.
And then has someone with that much experience so bad. So I want to hear your pick on this one first. I'm curious, because this one was hard for me.
This is one of those ones where I'm actually just gonna, like, take a shot in the dark, because I think the ones I have experience with are so they might be bad, but or just inoffensive to me. I think that's the thing. Emma Roberts and Madam Web, there is nothing wrong with that character, honestly. She is just a pregnant woman who's having a baby shower, and then has to go to the hospital because she's in labor. Though that's all she gets on screen.
That's all she is. Yeah, it's nothing.
So it's like, how is she failing the movie, I think, is the way I'm trying to read this. And it's like, she isn't. She really isn't. She is, like, in the sea of problems that exist for this movie, she is not, I don't think she'd account for a tablespoon of water. Like, she is just whatever. And Leslie Ann Down is the Iron Lady herself. Like, again, in the movie so sparingly, in a movie that has so much annoying and boring and wrong with it, that, like, to give her the award for this would just sort of be like, we had to pick a winner, right? Like, right. I think that's the way I would look at this for those two, is that they literally, everybody is roughly as inoffensive. So I have no dog in this race. I will probably just go with going off. So again, this is a beautiful way to play the game right now, because it's like, I don't know shit, right? Like, Ariana DeBose might be the most important supporting character in Argyle or Craven and actively harming the movie by being so horrible. But I would probably just, no reason other than probably more prominent than I expect, I would go with Twigs and the Crow. Just because I'm assuming she's relatively prominent, and that prominence, and if it's, I would assume, middling to bad acting, is sufficient enough, then she should win by virtue of just being on the screen the most. So with that in mind, and not knowing, she might actually just die in the first 5 minutes too. That's the best part of this. I know so little. I could be so wrong. It's delightful. It's delicious. I love it. So I'm going to go with Twigs and the Crow. Yeah.
All right. And I think she does die within the first 15 minutes. So that is also to lock that in. So the story of the Crow is that the Crow, his love interest is killed, typically raped and then killed. That's at least the first one. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, what I love with this is one of the major criticisms of the movie was that she wasn't in or established enough for anyone to care about her death.
Beautiful.
So that was, hearing your description was like, that's awesome.
Nailing it, crushing it. Yes.
But I love your self-awareness to be like, I might be 100% wrong about that.
And boy, was he. Yeah.
That's the only kind of, like, you know, self-doubt you can have when you're 100% committing to something you don't know. You're like, this
I'm
totally
doing the
wrong.
Bit, you know, yeah.
I know. It
was super wrong.
I enjoyed it. But again, I haven't seen it, so she might be on the screen more than I expect. I think that her death is like the, what's it called? The initiating factor.
Inciting incident.
Inciting incident. Thank you. So yeah, I think there's that. This one, yeah, this one was tough for me. You know, having seen it today, I put this down as my pick when I was getting this ready for when I should have been working. I did Amy Schumer in Unfrosted. I think she's gonna win / kind of my pick. This is such a, like, some of these are a blend of just like what I think is gonna win versus my own selection for it.
Yep. Yeah.
I think she's gonna win because I think people still really hate Amy Schumer, as they should, and like, she's really bad in it. But again, it kind of makes me think of like the other kid movie criticisms where it's like, well, are they trying to be kind of campy because it's a kids movie,
right? And
it's a ridiculous premise, but yeah, I don't know. She's supposed to be the bad guy. I think it's like probably the worst movie on the list, honestly. Like, and then Leslie Ann Down, I do think that she did a bad job, but again, she's, what, 3 to 4 minutes of screen time in the whole movie? Like, nothing. She has the one line where she's like, way to go, cowboy. And then the scene where they're like talking in her office, and I think that's it. I think that's really it. One thing I will throw in for Leslie, Dana said a great thing we were watching. She was like, God, this is terrible casting. She is way too hot to be Margaret Thatcher. It's like, that's an awesome burn to Margaret Thatcher. I went Amy Schumer just because, yeah, I don't know. She was shitty in it. Yeah, FK Twigs, who knows? Maybe you nailed it. Yeah, you might have nailed it. This one was hard for me. I had trouble picking one.
For sure, yeah. I this is a fairly uncompelling set of names and categories here. Yeah, I could also see, I could see anybody winning, honestly, just because.
Yeah.
I never once have I paid attention to the Razzies and how they vote, so we're also working off of that lack of knowledge. And I'm also now just realizing we're well into this. We have yet to follow up on the mini game of, is this a mean-spirited, they couldn't think of anything pick, or is this a genuinely bad, belongs here pick for any of the categories? And you know what? We can just raising it to say, you know what, let's drop that idea completely.
That's okay. When we get over worst picture, we'll do a quick run back through. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be shocked, though, because I have heard pretty bad things about Argyle, so I wouldn't be surprised if Debussy won that one. Because, like, especially if she's nominated for 2 movies, that doesn't seem... She statistically is most likely to lose, right? Like,
For
so
sure.
it's just like... So maybe she got it. I just wish I saw Argyle. Fucking probably the only person to ever say that. Like, all right, so we'll lock you in for that one. I will let you do the run through of supporting actor then.
For sure. Taking us to supporting actor world, we have Jack Black in Borderlands as Claptrap, Kevin Hart in Borderlands playing Roland Greaves, Shia LaBeouf in Megalopolis as Clodio Pulcher. For some reason, the annotation on Wikipedia has this as in drag.
It's the same in Vanity Fair.
Okay, so maybe Wiki is just copying Vanity Fair. The thing that disturbs me about that is, like, is the implication that the character also has moments in the movie where they're not in drag, and it's just the moments in drag we're supposed to care about, or is it just sort of like a reference to let us know that, hey, this happens? Like, it doesn't seem relevant to me, but God only knows.
Anyway, same issue with it. Didn't make sense to specify that.
Yeah. Moving on, our fourth potential winner here would be Tahar Rahim in Madam Web as Ezekiel Sims, which I looked at Tahar before I announced this to make sure that, yes, this is in fact the villain in this movie. And then finally showing up in four different films, but a potential worst supporting actor in all of them is John Voight for his performances in Megalopolis as Hamilton Crassus III, Reagan as Victor Petrovich, the spy who loved Reagan, Shadowland, where he portrayed Robert Wainwright, and Strangers, where he played a character named Richard. So this is a fun category for me because I have theoretically 4 options to work with. Shia LaBeouf in Megalopolis, obviously, is one I cannot comment on. So with that in mind, I think it's pretty interesting because Voight and Reagan was sort of I didn't find the character particularly good. I think for the movie that they were going for, where it's like you need somebody to narrate interest in Reagan, I think he did a passing job. Like, sure, the things he's reading off the page are just absolute fucking nonsense, but the way he went about showing off a very old man who is very deeply in love with the American superstar, the Crusader, from a very young age, like that, he kind of nailed his marks on that. So I can't really slight Voight for that. I mean, it was a bad character in a bad movie, but executed on to the way I would expect. I can't really dunk on the man for that. So for the 2 Borderlands characters, like, again, it's hard to pick Jack Black here just because that was a fairly accurate Claptrap portrayal for me, at least. Like, if there is someone who sees the charm of Claptrap and says Jack Black did him dirty, go ahead and write that blog and then make sure you post the link to me, and I'll make sure to never read it because who the fuck cares? Like, genuinely, like that was an honest read of that character. And I think, like, it might have been frustrating. I don't know if Black's range to be comedic was really well situated for Claptrap. Like, I think that might have been a bit of a rough thing for him to even get into, because I know the guy can be funny. I know he's got a lot of heart and passion for games in general. So I think, like, pretty well casted all around there. So, but yeah, it's Claptrap. They're never gonna be. He didn't ruin the movie by existing. Like, he's just annoying, and that's just the way the character works. Kevin Hart as Roland Greaves to me this basically boils down to what was more frustrating to watch: Kevin Hart as Roland Greaves or Tahar Rahim as Ezekiel Sims, which never knew that was a character's name. I watched the entire movie. I had no idea what his name was. He was always bad guy to me. Maybe I missed it. I might have missed it, or the movie might have not said it. Both could be true, maybe.
I don't remember them saying it. Maybe they said it when he shot the mom in the jungle in the beginning.
Possible. Oh, you know what? It was 100% when they were in the jungle, and she's like Ezekiel or something.
Yeah,
that 100%. That definitely happened. And I just memory hold it almost immediately because I think. Also, it's one of those jarring things where it's like it was a surprisingly loud noise that just made me guffaw for no reason because I thought like something slapstick was about to happen, but it turns out Ezekiel is shooting up literally everybody to steal a spider.
Yeah.
Just like one of those like, oh, my brain works as intended, right? So yeah, so we're between these two. I think like Kevin Hart was trying to do a genuine like he was going for something in Borderlands, and I feel like he was reading from a slightly different script than everybody else, where like, and maybe that's just Roland's character in the Borderlands universe writ large, where he is the earnest soldier in the face of the absurd. So like, if that's what Roland fundamentally is, I think Kevin basically got it right. Like, you know, it's just like he's not the worst thing happening in that movie is part of it in my mind, where it's just like, sure, it's jarring to see him play this heroic hero just because on its face it's like Kevin Hart, right? Trying to do something different, which I don't want to knock him for that. But, you know, Roland in my mind, in my imagination, isn't really that salient to the Borderlands universe anyway. Just not that interesting of a character. He's Soldier Boy who winds up dying valiantly, right? That's all I've ever known him to be. And I might even be wrong about the part where he's died.
Mm-hmm. Gets shot in two. Yeah.
Great. I know I played that one too as well, so that's good on me for remembering.
It's like the big emotional moment of the game.
I'm like, where the fuck is my shiny weapon? I need something with better stats. This is nothing to do with stats. So I think without a doubt it had to be. It's unfortunate because I think I actually had the note in Madam Web where I was trying to figure out if I just want to make sure I got this right. 2 seconds. Yes. The question I wrote was main villain. Nepo hire? I was so taken out of the movie that I thought this man had to seriously know somebody at the studio to just get his ass in that film. It was jarringly bad. It's just one of those things too where it's like how much of it was the acting being just so jarringly bad versus like, well, obviously I'm getting pulled out of the movie. I'm hearing something through a set of studio headphones when I'm theoretically supposed to hear a man talk on a New York City subway platform. Like, clearly I'm going to think it's shit. But, yeah, without a doubt now, I'm locking it in. Tahar Rahim, Madam Web, Ezekiel Sims. That was just a bad time. It was a real bad time. There was no real... I didn't feel animated by anything that the villain was doing. I didn't see an arc there. I didn't see... like anything to like feel the menace or the, you know, comprehend what the fuck was going on with that character. And just every scene, like the delivery too of a lot of his stuff, even when they have the benefit of doing it in a booth well after the fact, after they've been pulled out of the Peruvian rainforest or wherever they were shooting on location for that day, had like all of the impact of a guy very seriously trying to get his dog to not shit on the floor, right? Like it's just such... listen, I need you to not do this right now. Like, it's company's about to come over. Like, that's the level of threat and menace the guy was bringing to most of his lines. That dog is shitting on that floor if that man is trying to talk to him that way.
No one's listening to that, buddy.
Absolutely not. No threat, no menace, and just now you got soiled carpets. So, yeah, easy lock-in now for Ezekiel Sims. A character I didn't know existed in the Spider-Man universe till right now.
Honestly, like... does it? Is that in the Spider-Man universe, or did they make it up for the movie?
I see a hyperlink on Wikipedia, and everybody knows the truth is the only thing that can exist on Wiki.
Yeah, it's a good source. Used it for every paper I wrote in college.
Apparently appeared as early as 2001.
Okay. All right, it's a little established then. Yeah, it's funny. I think that, like, this might make me seem stupid, but, like, I feel like because he was wearing a mask for so many of his parts, I didn't really observe the bad acting. Like, I couldn't see. And then so many of the lines, like, his voice is, like, added. So his face is covered, and then his voice is coming from a sound booth. So I'm like, who knows how he's doing, you know?
Who could say?
Who could say? Maybe it's actually really good. Yeah, that's a valid one. Yeah, you keep almost like getting me to swing over to Madame Web because I really hated the movie, but like you're doing good breakdowns for like why specific aspects are shitty. I put Kevin Hart for Borderlands.
Hit me with it.
It's just knowing Kevin Hart intimately, and then knowing, biblically, and then knowing the, like the character of Roland and everything, and what he's supposed to be. I just don't think like Roland is supposed to be a very like intimidating, stern soldier, and Kevin Hart sure wasn't being like lighthearted and fun, but I never like found him to be like tough or intimidating. And like even in the movie when he like sacrifices himself, and like this is the worst editing ever, the scene where he sacrificed himself but then was okay after, they made a big fucking error with like continuity. It was, he had one explosive which he was able to use twice. I don't get it, but like it's just like even him like sacrificing himself, I was just like, I believe fully that the whatever they were called, blood whatever raiders that were in the sewer, they would have gone right the fuck through him. Like, you know, it's like there's not one part of me that thinks for a second that that character is a super soldier and would do it. It just was bad casting. You know, I don't know. He kind of played Kevin Hart. He played Roland as a kind of like just like angry dad, which is not Roland. Roland is an angry dad. Like he's just like he's kind of a socially awkward soldier. Like he grew up in the military. He doesn't really know how to interact with people. He's very just like says things extremely directly, and like that's it. Like, you know, the whole scene in the car where he's like, I said put the window up. I said put the window up. Like, it's just like Roland would never yell like that. Like, you know, I said no explosives. I said no explosives. Like, and also Roland, like, I don't, like, the idea of him saying no explosives, like, he uses explosives. Like, it's just like, what? Like, it just didn't make sense. And I have that from being, like, someone that's played the hell out of Borderlands, where I'm just like, this is just inaccurate to what the character's supposed to be. Yeah, Tahar did have really bad delivery. John Voight and Reagan, like, fuck, dude. Like, that was that was so bad. It was such a shitty, like, just shitty Russian impression. I hated the way he delivered everything. I agree with Jack Black, though. Like, I don't understand why Jack Black is on the list for this. This is 100% just they wanted to nominate him for everything because their butt hurt that he didn't do Claptrap well.
Sure.
And I agree with your thing too. Like, it's like Jack Black is such like a physical comedic actor. Like, why use him for a voiceover thing? You're like, you know, because he does big motions and dances and expressions, and he's, you know, he's a very heavy set guy, but he's got that Chris Farley thing where he's still very good at moving his body.
For sure, yeah.
You know, so it's like, good.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think, like, the thing I was trying to get at with range of expression for Jack Black is that I've seen him do voice work where he has a much broader berth to work with, and I feel like it's very effective. Like, I've seen him do a lot of stuff with, oh, God, this is so embarrassing. The studio's name is escaping me. Double Fine, the game studio out in San Francisco, has done stuff like Psychonauts. Like, I've seen him lend his voice for stuff that they have done. I want to say it was Broken Age as well. He was also famously like the main character for them in Brutal Legend Umlaut on that U. And just seeing him in the booth, seeing him work there, and just playing those games myself, I'm like, this guy knows what he's doing when it comes to voice work. And then just seeing Borderlands and Claptrap and just being like, okay, so you took a guy who has, you know, a range, and just sort of really imagine if it's like an accordion stretch, and you just sort of snap that shit back into place where it's not moving at all because it's a very narrow lane when you're doing Claptrap. You know, that's the thing. I was like, yeah, for sure too. Though it's like he does have that good sense of physical comedy that you just will never get when it's only his voice, which Vanity Fair has elected to note as, don't worry, this is Claptrap voice only. That's why Jack sucked here apparently, or it should be considered when we're trying to deliberate on the worst supporting actor. It's just his voice. We're only debating about his voice here. It's like, all right, I guess.
Yeah, it's tough because the character is just one thing. Yeah, like I say, when you have someone who can do a lot of dimension, a lot of range, a lot of like stuff, especially because like a robot really should just kind of be like one consistent thing, and that's in the game. It's supposed to be a lot of like Claptrap's humor comes from he doesn't have like situational awareness. It's the same delivery, the same approach, like for every event. It's like he's always just Claptrap. So it's like, yeah, like I feel for him that's kind of like an unfair nomination. Like it just doesn't. I'm sure there were worse supporting roles. Hey Dante. Yeah, I think although I really like your opinion on Tahir, I do agree he was really bad. I gotta like in Kevin Hart just because it's like, because I feel like he had a relatively one-dimensional character and didn't capture that one dimension. Like you had one thing you had to get right and you didn't get it right. So
devastating.
Yeah, stop it. He's trying to like get the wire from my headphones again. Buddy, come on. I don't want to have to kick you out, but you're getting bad.
Yeah, Poe has been very good about not trying to chomp on cords, but she has found particular pleasure in the rice cookers cord, which please don't start chewing on electrical cords, baby girl. That's just not going to be good for you.
Yeah, I caught Luna biting on the power outlet that all the video game consoles are plugged into. I was yeah. That's a fun one. Yeah, I also took all the knobs off of the oven because they keep popping up and walking. And it's like, so there's no knobs on the oven, and it's like, we have like a glass top. So it's like they're not gonna like see a flame. So it's just gonna be a burning hot surface that'll fuck their paw if they do.
God,
so it's like so I have a pile of pots on the glass top, and then no knobs, and then they still just walk in the pots. I'm like, God damn it, guys! Like I'm like, so then whenever I cook something, I then have to put a cold pot where the hot one was.
Oh, yeah.
To try to block it. It's just, they're so frustrating. But,
oh, God.
Yeah, so I'm locking in Kevin Hart. You're locking in Thamar.
Yes, Ezekiel Sims.
Wait, what?
It's the character name.
Oh, is it? Oh my God, that's it. I already forgot it.
It's not,
like,
yeah, Tahar Rahim. Tahar Rahim.
Oh my God.
I'm actually going to see his other credits.
Yeah, I know one thing that he was in. I just pulled up his shit. He was in The Serpent, and I liked that. The Serpent was interesting. It's a true story, which makes it way more interesting. But I remember Dana and I watched that. I don't think we finished it. But, yeah, it's a pretty good one. Alright, next we got Worst Actress. We got Cate Blanchett. Can't imagine anyone taking that from her, from Borderlands. Lady Gaga from Jokey Flubba. Bryce Dallas Howard in Argyle. Dakota Johnson in Madame Web. And Jennifer Lopez in Atlas, which I still can't believe I forgot to watch that one. For me, not a lot to discuss on this list. I didn't see Atlas, I didn't see Argyle. Heard bad things. Dakota Johnson, which one is she again?
She is our ambo driver. She's the person we start with. She is the character who can see the future and has to figure it out. Her mom's the one that dies in the beginning. Oh. She's the baby born to the spider people in that birthing pool. Oh,
this just reminded me. I forgot to say. One thing I wanted to say for supporting actress. Putting Emma Roberts for Madame Web, I am shocked that they didn't put Sydney Sweeney.
I mean,
she was awful. I thought she was terrible in it. Her line delivery was so bad. Dante.
I looked at the kids in that movie, like our three spunky teens, as just basically like rip-off Powerpuff Girls, and I think from that frame she played like Bubbles to a T. So it's like nothing of note. Like I think I made mention of this to you in a text too. It's like, it's surprising that she was in that movie to me in some ways, because like I've seen her, it's just Sydney Sweeney to me, I guess. The way it works is that she will show up in a movie. I will acknowledge she's on the screen, or a TV series like what was it?
White Lotus.
It's not Broken. No, I don't think I saw her in White Lotus. I was thinking more of the I'm not sure if it's like Amy Adams, I want to say. It was like the TV series about, I just remember like it was a southern gothic looking house that they were stuck in, broken glass, broken something.
Oh,
I'm gonna get closure quick.
Sorry, this fucking cat is driving me insane. Broken Pieces. Is that it?
Yeah, Sharp Objects.
Sharp Objects.
There you go. Sorry. Thank Wiki to save us. Yes. So I saw her apparently in Sharp Objects. I saw her apparently in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I can't fucking remember a thing about her presence on screen. Same thing for this movie. She just sort of would show up, do the like, you know, blossom in the Powerpuff Girls thing and be like relatively the responsible goody two shoes thing. No real leadership qualities, I would say.
Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. Dante's fucking shit up.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you piece of shit, Dante. Come here. Alright, so I'm sorry. I forget exactly where I cut you off with it. It was about Sydney Sweeney and being in broken sharp objects or whatever.
Broken sharp objects, yeah, no. So the thrust of it was, I've seen Sydney Sweeney in God knows how many things at this point, and every single time she has struck me as a presence on the screen that will never get fully registered in any part of my long-term memory. So I couldn't realistically give it to her as we're supporting actress, even if she made her way in there. Just because I think her presence, even in Madam Web, was inconsequential. You could have put a cardboard cutout and someone pantomiming the important thing, like anything that character had to say off screen, and nothing really changes. For all three of those characters, I'm not saying it was like Sydney Sweeney was especially flat, character was flat and boring. All of them were roughly that. They're caricatures. They're the Powerpuff Girls. So it's like, meh.
I thought all three were bad. Sydney Sweeney, I've come around on it, where she's good as one type of character, and essentially it's like Cass from Euphoria. I think she lucked out with that. She got cast into a character where they're supposed to be sad, and she naturally has sad eyes. She got those sad Irish eyes. So she's good at playing sad, and she's good at playing like hot sexual. Like she does like on-screen fucking very well. Like I get the vibe like she's just like naturally a pretty sexual person, because she seems to be able to like tap into that in roles. Like a movie I saw with her that I think really captured her range as an actress was Voyeur, I think is what it's called. It was on Amazon. It's sort of like a Rear Window type of thing, but like, you know, she gets obsessed with watching like these like neighbors fuck, and she wants to fuck and blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, she's like kind of like, the movie starts, it's like kind of good because the character works for her, right? It's just this sort of like, you know, normal woman, no big emoting, just kind of going through her day-to-day life. Then it's like she has these like sexual scenes, and she like delivers on those. Like she I don't know, any scene like Euphoria or like Voyeur, it's like I'm always able to believe when she's doing like a sex scene that she's like into it. But then at the end of the movie, she kind of becomes like I don't know what you would call it, like a vengeful femme fatale. I don't know, like it's like as soon as she tries to sound like cool or tough or badass, it's like like just fucking cannot deliver. Like the end of Voyeur, I remember describing as it felt like they ran out of time and money. Like it just out of nowhere, that movie nosedives hard. And she tries to have this like cool, edgy, and just fucking can't deliver it. And in Madame Web, she really stood out to me. She had like 3 or 4 line reads that were just like atrocious. Like there was just a couple where I was like, that did not work. Like anything where they were like fighting. And then there was something where she called out to what's her name, Dakota Johnson's character. And Dana was at that point watching it with me, and we both just started laughing. Like we were like, wow, what the fuck was that? Like it was, she can't like emote very well. She has her range. She reminds me of Kristen Stewart. She's good at playing like the sedated, under-delivered, like kind of, you know, just low energy delivery kind of thing. She's good at that. She's good as like a sex figure. But I think that like, what was she, like a casting director, someone in Hollywood who got like, you know, canceled or whatever. Because pretty much she tweeted, she was like, Sydney Sweeney just has big tits. She's not really that attractive, and she's bad at acting. And like, I think Sydney Sweeney's attractive, but I'm like, yeah, the bad at acting part, you know what? I'm on board with that. And I'm like nervous about her next movie because it's her trying to prove that she's a good actress. She's playing like a boxer, and I'm like, I'm gonna see that shit opening day because that's gonna be so bad. Like, there's no way it's not gonna be really bad.
What if there's a world? There's a world that's okay.
It's like if she pulls it off, I'll be like amazed, and it depends 100% on how the character is written. If the character is supposed to be this like low energy delivery, then she'll be fine. But anyway, I wanted to just swing back to that.
For sure.
I understand thinking she's fine, whatever. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't love that. So, yeah. So anyway, like back to it. So Cate Blanchett in Borderlands, I think it's the worst actress also because she's, of all of these people in this list, the one I have the highest hopes for. She's the one I know is like capable of the most, and when handed just like such a nothing bullshit role, should have been able to do something with it, and it was just nothing. Her character was flat, delivery sucked, like she mush-mouthed a bunch of lines. I mean, are we including casting in this aspect, or is this just like, I mean, also, like, seriously, like a 58-year-old person to play a 23-year-old? Which, like, the casting, I really got into, like, the story and why they did the casting, too. Made somewhat sense because of other casting, but also you could have just done none of it and just picked younger people. It's just, like, what you should have done.
100%. It definitely should have just been unknowns, but...
Yeah. I think unknowns, or even, I mean, like, Mad Moxie is literally, like, what, like a 65-year-old woman? And, like, actually, funny enough, because we were just talking about Sydney Sweeney, I actually think Sydney Sweeney could have pulled off Mad Mox better, because it's, like, more of, like, her wheelhouse and everything like that.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, she got the body, and I think if you painted her face like the character from the game, she would actually kind of look like the character from the game. Yeah, I think that was just all off, but... Yeah, I don't know. Cate Blanchett. It's like to see like such an extremely talented actor give such a trash ass garbage performance. It's just like I don't see how anyone else on this list could possibly come close. I don't think anyone else on this list I would have as high of an expectation for in terms of like an actor or as like as accomplished. And I doubt anyone on this list delivered as poorly.
Yep, I think you've nailed it in exactly one. For me, it's like when I was considering this, I'm not really sure there's some expectations to put into it when you have, lead actress from Tar coming into a movie that they're going to pull something out of their hat to make it be a level above as well. But for me, I'm just looking at this as purely like, in this particular movie, who did the most frustrating job as like one of the main focal points for how we appreciate the film? And yeah, Cate Blanchett's Lilith was just... Again, I think the thing that struck me the most about this movie is how disinterested everyone seemed to be there, and that, like, at no point in the movie was I watching it and thinking, like, this is something I need to keep seeing. If it wasn't for this exercise, I would have actually stopped the movie, I think, after, like, 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And or never would have started in the first place, because it's just not for me. But I think it might be worth going through the other ones that I have some semblance of how they did. Like, Gaga in Folie à Deux, it's fine. Like...
I thought she was good.
Good might be. I was actually revising it. Yeah, I think in general, yeah, I would probably call it just like a good performance. I think my favorite scene from her was like one of the initial conversation that Arthur Fleck and Harley have outside of the, what is it, like the chorus or the music, the singing room. I'm not sure what the exact activity was in that prison, where I think Gaga did a really effective portrayal of someone who's just sort of like. I don't know, when she had a certain effect with her eyes, and this might just be done in editing as well, but like I think when you have the portrayal of someone who's deeply deranged, where it's sort of like their eyes shine with a particular light of insanity, I thought she just nailed that exactly perfectly. Mm-hmm. Just like a real deeply unhinged person.
It's almost like excitement.
Yeah. It's like an excitement or just sort of like a disconnect with reality was going on in that moment for that person. It's just, I thought, like, well portrayed, but it's also sort of like in the framing device of the movie too. It's like not only is she playing someone who's in an insane asylum, it's someone who has checked themselves in voluntarily because they're so infatuated with someone who's or not an insane asylum / prison. I'm at the KFC and the Taco Bell style.
Yeah, I don't like that they did that.
Yeah, it was interesting too. It's like, yeah, wait. Is it Arkham Asylums? I forget. Did it say asylum or prison on the front door when they escaped out the front? I don't even remember.
Well, the thing that sucks with that is, like, in the Batman universe, there's, like, I think it's called Black Rock is the prison, and then there's Arkham Asylum. Like, they're two different places.
Excuse me, I believe it's Blackgate.
Oh, is it Blackgate? Oh,
It's gonna be so fucking funny if I'm wrong about that.
I hope you just fucking got real shitty. And
Blackgate. Welcome to the #1 D&D community. Fandom. Blackgate Penitentiary. Gotham City. State, New Jersey?
Yeah.
All right.
Gotham is in New Jersey. That's always something they change in the movies for some reason.
It's today I fucking learned. Anywho, yeah, that is an interesting choice. I don't actually remember well enough from the movie whether or not Arkham has been full. I mean, it's very clearly styled as a prison throughout the film. But the fact that someone can check themselves into prison sort of beggars belief at this point, hearing it out loud right now. Anywho, back to like Gaga's performance in that. Yeah, I thought she did well with what she was supposed to be, which is someone who, is pretending to be crazy did she even have to pretend? She just like, I want to check myself in, shows up, and now she's in the prison trying to get with Arthur Fleck, basically.
Yeah. So she claims that she was an arsonist and got put in, and then she was voluntarily committed. Yep.
Yeah, that major plot point. But yeah, I was like, I'm not sure if like she walks like this is like a who cares thing, but for me, it's just striking my fancy of like, how does that mechanically work? Do you just show up to the front desk and say, I would like to be in the insane asylum now until I am better, or do you actually have to say, yeah, I set my parents' apartment on fire, tee hee hee, I'm a firebug, take me in, I know I'm bad.
Well,
mechanically
curious. Didn't she like commit herself for like depression or something? I think that's what she committed herself for, was like depression. And then she lied and said she was an arsonist.
Very good, yeah. I straight up don't remember. I know she did set the fire that led to the song out the front door where they climbed the fence. But yeah, I think in general in the movie she played Harley fine. I think with what they were given in the like structure of that film, she was supposed to play more of like to me at least, it read more along the lines of like the unachievable fantasy. Like that's how, and maybe we'll get to it more when we're talking about Worst Picture, just to like holistically review what the movies meant to us, or how we saw the movies rather, not what they meant to us. To me, she made the most sense as like this unachievable ideal for Arthur Fleck, and the sort of like fundamental reversal that happens for this character throughout the movie, which is the only way he'll be accepted is if he completely subsumes Arthur Fleck into the persona of the Joker. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no living your own life anymore. Like, that's been foreclosed to you. So, yeah, given that, I think she did perfectly fine. Like, it's not like I would say, like, an exceptional performance. No. This is also completely ignoring, like, and there's one thing, too, I've never really thought or considered till this moment of, like, when you're reviewing a musical, when you're thinking through how well a musical worked out as a movie, like, how much do you have to weigh the performance of the actual, like, music as part of it? And for that, it's like, I don't think I think my biggest critique of the joke, well, maybe I'll save it for later, but yeah, I don't know if that necessarily factors into how I feel about how she did in that movie. So yeah, Gaga, fine, fundamentally. Not going to change my heart on Cate Blanchett for that. And then Dakota Johnson, I mean, it felt like she was just sort of being who she is in almost everything I've seen clips of her in, or just how she is as an actress, which is sort of like she's slightly put upon in almost every scene. Like, I don't know. She was bad, but no more so than she would be bad in like any of the 50 Shades movies. Like,
sure.
I think she has a pretty good niche as, this is horrible to say, but feels true. If you need a leading lady to just sort of fill out the roster, she'll do fine. She's not gonna blow your socks off. She's slightly annoyed about everything. I don't know why. That's just who the character seems to be for her. But yeah, it's not gonna come close to someone who actively makes the movie feel like nothing's happening. That Lilith turned out to be for Borderlands.
Yeah.
And shout outs to Bryce Dallas Howard and Jennifer Lopez. I have no idea how you two did, but I'm sure it's not as bad as Cate Blanchett.
Yeah. Yeah, which I mean, honestly, that's amazing to say that. Comparing these roles, Jennifer Lopez was a better actor than Kate Blanchett.
I don't need to see the movie to know it to be true.
Yeah, there's no way that wasn't. I think honestly, I mean, I'm pretty sure Borderlands is gonna fucking sweep the Razzies, but like,
I think we're aligned. Double lock it in. Kate Blanchett in Borderlands is the worst actress.
I actually already wrote that as your response on the show. I was like, "There's no way he's not gonna pick that."
Yeah, no.
No fucking way.
I'd be on some fucking like, there's a gun to my cat's head. I have to make this argument, otherwise I'm going to lose a cat. Like, that's the only way you catch me doing anything else.
Yeah, the only person on this list that I could like imagine gave a run, like, I don't know. It's like I heard Argyle was really stupid. I wish I knew more about it to talk about. It's the only one I didn't like research at all. Well, that and Atlas, I didn't like research them at all. But like the only one I could see making the argument was maybe as bad was Dakota Johnson, because I did hate her in Madame Web. Like, I hated that character.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, and then it's like, I don't know. It's like, do I hate the character or do I hate her portrayal of the character? Is it a combo? Like, yeah. So, yeah, lock it in, Kate. Kate, you fucking suck. Let's see.
Quick aside,
Yeah.
I didn't realize Argyle was a spin-off movie from the Kingsman universe, which makes me wonder how it didn't, like, we've seen multiple Argyle noms, but it somehow didn't make its way into like worst remake, ripoff, or sequel.
Oh yeah, that's weird.
It's
I would
Razzies
say
are a mysterious entity.
Yeah, I don't understand and agree with their nomination. I would say take out Craven the Hunter and then put that in there.
But yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe just get us in the office. We'll figure this out.
Yeah, let's quit our jobs and work for the Razzies. That's
How do
definitely
they make money.
They don't. They don't. It's volunteer only.
Oh, very good.
So next we have Worst Actor, and you got Jack Black in Dear Santa, Zachary Levi in Harold in the Purple Crayon, Joaquin Phoenix in Joker for the, Dennis Quaid in Reagan, and Jerry Seinfeld in Unfrosted. And I can say I saw all 5 of these movies.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I watched all 5 of these like in the last week, except for Joker. Joker's the only one I saw in theaters. Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to go first on this one? Do you want me to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I could take it away. Again, this is one of those things where I was hyper-focused on Worst Pictures, so I didn't get to see all of these. And given that, it's tough for this category, given that only Joaquin and Dennis Quaid are their options for that. Knowing that, In the Dark, I think if I had to go off of what I know, Dennis Quaid has definitely done worse than Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin played functionally the same Arthur Fleck that was in the first Joker, and he won Best Actor for that, if I remember correctly?
Right. So how is he the worst actor now for the same character?
This is just like it. As part of my distaste with the Razzies is like they're just mean spirited in a lot of places, and it's just like it's a needless jab at what is otherwise. It's a solid performance. It's a good performance. I don't know what we're doing here. So with that all aside, if I had to pick for this category, which I do, I'm going to go with Jerry Seinfeld because I think the other 4 have at some point, I don't know Zachary Levi, maybe I shouldn't make this claim, but I'm going to say the other 4 at some point have had some claim at being a professional, serious actor in some capacity. Jerry Seinfeld, I don't know if we can ever say that about him. So he is probably the worst actor out of everyone here. And since the category is worst actor, Jerry wins.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah. That seems fair.
So where do you land, given that you've seen everything in this category?
I'm gonna have to say. Oh my god! Give me 1 second, Luna.
Mm-hmm.
No. Don't do that. Oh god, these fucking cats. Okay, back on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was just licking empty cans. I don't want her to cut her face. Yeah, god, recording these is gonna be a bitch with these cats. So yeah, going down the list, Jack Black and Dear Santa. I think that's a bullshit nomination. I watched it. It's a shit movie. It's a real shit fucking movie. So the premise of Dear Santa is a child. I also kind of like the premise. A child with dyslexia writes Santa, and he accidentally writes Satan on the letter, and so
Amazing.
Satan shows up, and it's played by Jack Black, kinda. And not to spoil anything, and he's like a demonic thing. He makes wishes. There's more scenes with Post Malone that I would have wanted in a movie.
It's just that's I didn't know where that sentence was going. All right, okay.
Like, yeah, Post Malone was in it too much. The kid actors, like the two that are like really the main stars of it, are bad. Yeah, he's not the worst. He's not. It's a shitty movie, but he's not even the worst part of the movie. Like, he actually had a couple of little jokes that made me laugh. Like, there was one joke I liked a lot where, like, he freezes the kid because the kid's trying to run away when he realizes he's Satan and not Santa. And the kid's like, if you touch me, I'll scream. He goes, touch you? Whoa, come on, man. I'm not a trusted family member. And I was like, okay, that's a good joke. And then he's like, no, seriously, we got a lot of those, like, creepy uncles down there. Anyway, and he just, like, goes back to talk. Like, they did some jokes where I was like, oh, it was actually, like, an okay joke. Like, I liked the trusted family member joke. I thought that was kind of a push to put that joke in a kid's movie. I was like, that's an interesting one for a movie definitely aimed at, like, children, to put in, like, a family member molesting you joke. Yeah, like, I thought he was fine. So, I mean, it's like the Claptrap one. It's like, for what reason? Like, if you hated the movie, nominate Dear Santa for, like, worst picture. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't make sense to me. Zachary Levi, Harold and the Purple Crayon. I watched a little bit of this. I mean, there's no way I could commit to watching the whole movie. I understood what the movie was pretty quickly in. It's based on, I think, a children's book. Zachary Levi is playing essentially like he's like a character from this like book that gets into the real world. So it's kind of this like goofy, cartoonish character, right? It's sort of like a fish out of water, sort of like Buddy from Elf. Like, what happens if this like person that grew up in this like fantasy magical place where you never grow up comes to the real world and has to deal with like traffic for the first time? You know, it's like,
Oh boy.
yeah, what's that gonna be like? And he's just very like animated and excited. I didn't think there was anything like bad about it. Again, it's just like, it's a children's movie. He's playing a children's movie character, you know? It's like, I understand why you'd be like, that's the worst actor. I don't know how fucking serious you want Zachary Levi to play Harold in Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Right.
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix, I agree. I think he did a good job. Like, I think most of the nominations for this movie are just, you know, crowd rage and not actually having to do with the performance. Yeah, he was very good in it. Like, yeah, I thought he was good. I thought his performance was probably the best part of the new Joker movie. Like,
oh yeah,
it was
by that.
It was all in all like not really that great, but I think he was probably the best part. Dennis Quaid, I could totally see taking this.
Yes.
I give him some slack, and we just watched The Substance, and like he was really good in The Substance, and I was just like, all right, like after seeing Reagan and then seeing him in that, and I think we watched it like in the same day, maybe. Dana and I had a day where we saw like a lot of movies like kind of tight together. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw 2 Dennis Quaid movies in a row, which I've like never done or planned. It's shitty because it's like it's a shitty movie and like it's bad writing, it's a stupid message, and the director did a bad job and the screenwriter did a bad job. I feel like he captured like the campy folklore nature of Reagan that they were trying to get. Like, right, they're trying to be like the story of the American hero, and Reagan himself, like I said earlier, is just like such a fucking tough person for any actor to play well. Because even if you play him perfectly, you sound fucking stupid. Because it's just such a dumb way for anyone other than Reagan to speak. So it's like there's no win. But today, so Dennis Quaid was my pick. Today, I saw Jerry Seinfeld in Unfrosted.
Hell yeah.
And I will say Jerry Seinfeld in Unfrosted is the pick. It is a movie that he wrote and directed. It's a comedy. He's a comedian. He's one of the world's most famous comedians. He is awful in it. Like, it's such a bad movie. And, like, fuck it. If we're nominating kids' movies in here, like, I'm seeing some kids' movies getting thrown in here. Unfrosted, you know, you had a couple of them already for this. It's just, like, it pisses me off that Unfrosted isn't in Worst Picture, but Joker is. Like, it's that bad, where I'm just like,
damn,
this is a piece of goddamn garbage. Like, how is this not considered Worst Picture compared to Joker? Or even, like, I'm going on a web. I'm going to say Megalopolis is probably better than Unfrosted. You know, it's like, I just don't get it. His performance was so fucking bad. It was just... not one joke lands. Like, not one. He had, and like the thing where it was like, what was it, screen combo?
Yeah.
Him, for the any two unfunny comedic actors on Frosted, it is so hard to not pick him for worst screen combo. Because everyone on screen seems like they're trying so hard and like to like carry the weight of his presence. Like, it... Hi, Luna. You okay? You have a little sneezing attack right into my microphone?
I'm hearing it, too. The tiniest little kitten sneezes. Oh, my God.
It's okay. She's been getting little sneezing attacks. Yeah, just sneeze it out. She literally walked up to the mic and sneezed into it.
That's a smart cookie.
No, baby.
She had to say her piece. I do love the idea of having to be a professional comedic actor and doing the Sisyphean task of rolling the boulder of Jerry Seinfeld up the hill that is the senior in time and time again, knowing that that boulder is trying its best to not move.
Yeah. It's like that was the scene with what's her name, Melissa McCarthy is what we were just talking about. Yeah. I feel so bad for her watching it, and it's like, I don't know, maybe Dana and I will like watch the movie like as a joke for like a hate watch or something. Luna, come on, you're okay. She's really going at it. All right, there you go.
You're giving me a really exciting preview for the kitten I'm about to get. Although the kitten's gonna be older than both Luna and Dante, so maybe it won't be as bad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So when we got them, it was like Dante had a cough, so they sent him with some antibiotics because they were like, he has a little like kitty cold, just like a little sneeze, and they're like, we went to the vet, like it's okay, it's just like a little cold. I'm like, okay. And then so we're giving him antibiotics, and then Luna started sneezing, so now they're both on the antibiotics. But, you know, fun fact, now they both have diarrhea. So we have two cats with diarrhea, which is great. And Luna's still getting these, like, little sneezing fits. I'm going to probably take her to the vet. Yeah, it's, like, just every scene that Jerry Seinfeld is in, he cannot act. And it's, like, it's like, how could you not act comedically? And, like, he's also, like, kind of just, like, playing like a dick, but like it's never that believable. It's just awful. Like, and it's like, I want to know how much of it he wrote, because it's like, if he wrote these jokes, dude, just stop. Like, just, you have enough money, just stop. You know, it's like,
I'm pretty sure, isn't he a billionaire? Like, you can just chill.
I think he is at this point, and it's like, you're like, what are you doing? Like, are you trying to be relevant? You're not for a good reason. Like, you didn't need this out in the world. And I feel like everyone on the set probably got paid well. It's a lot of big names, like, in the whole movie. Mm-hmm. And every fucking person that has to share a scene with him, it's like they're swimming against a current, which is the lack of his talent. And it's just like, you could tell, like, they just... I just felt bad. Like, with Dennis Quaid, I didn't feel bad for anyone on set with him, you know? Like, no one on set, I was like, oh my god, this person's trying so hard and Dennis Quaid's ruining it. It's just, yeah, for me, Jerry Seinfeld was just a clean lock after seeing it today. Like, I watched some of it on my lunch break and I was like, this is so much worse than I thought it could be. Like, yeah, it's crazy. It's like, I don't, it's such a lazy premise of a movie. And, like, I don't get it. It's like, the joke is, it's like the space race, but to create a Pop-Tart.
Great.
That's it. That's the premise.
I'm very, very. Yeah, I can't even make a bit about this. It's just, all right.
What joke is there?
I don't know. Yeah, sure. Why not? That's the best I got.
There's nothing.
Sure, why not?
Like, it's like, yeah, Amy Schumer's in charge of, what the fuck is the name of it? I don't know, one of those cereal companies, and he works for Kellogg. And yeah, that's like it. Like, there's just like nothing. Like, it's just like, and it's the laziest writing where it's just like, it's almost like if someone tried to make, he's almost trying to play John Hamm. Like, it's almost like they're trying to be like, yeah, no, that's who it is. It's John Hamm. It's like, what if all of these like corporate slogans, and I don't know, there's something kind of gross and like fetishizing of like capitalism about it, but like quote unquote also criticizing it. And it's like, I don't know, it's like, oh, like, you know, how did this genius come up with the slogan, "They're great"? The actor said it, and then he went, oh, use that. Cool. Like, you know, nice. It's nice. It's just a lot of that shit where like he overhears something, he's like, that's what we're gonna call that. And then they're like, oh my god, wow, you did it again, Jerry, good job. Like, you know, what a great creative. Which makes me wonder if that's like just what his comedy was like. Did he just hear other people say funny things and then just repeated it?
How are we just finding out now in the year of our Lord 2025 that Jerry Seinfeld's comedic career potentially could be summed up as kid in class who hears joke and says it louder?
Yeah, I think that's literally what it is. Like, it's just because it's, I don't know, man. This character is supposed to be like cool and funny, and like, it's just nothing works,
and time after time proving he's anything but.
It's just awful, and it's like, just, oh my god, like watching it, like I was just eating my lunch, just like staring blankly at the screen. And I was like I signed up for Netflix to watch this. Which is the funniest part about the movie.
I hope we both cancel our Netflix subscriptions at the same time and they get two different survey answers of I only signed up for this to watch a movie, and they see Unfrosted and Madam Web as the answers.
Yep. Signed up for those. Don't know why. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld all day. If he loses, if he doesn't win worst actor, like, I don't understand. It has to be Dennis Quaid, and it's just like, that's just not fair. Like,
nah, it really isn't. To me, it's like the argument for Dennis Quaid is like, it's a bad movie and he's just the focal point of it. It's like, I think he, for what the movie was trying to be, hit his marks.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't beat a guy who can't act or tell a joke. It's just, we can't, come on, man. You can't, he's swimming upstream against the current of his fucking lack of talent, as you put it, which is beautiful.
Thank you.
Because, fuck, dude, just, ugh.
Yeah.
All right.
He, like, I never feel like Dennis Quaid held the movie back. I feel like Jerry Seinfeld made it where it was literally impossible for it to be a good movie. Like, yeah, step 1, recast Jerry Seinfeld. Step 2, hire a different director. Step 3, do a whole different script. And like, just the premise of like, I don't know. It's like, I get that that's like the joke is that like everyone's really invested in breakfast food. There's like an award show for cereal.
Why not?
I don't know. It felt like a weird thing of like, what if it was Mad Men but about cereal? Like, it was just kind of dumb. I don't know. Yeah, I felt like that just drained energy out of me just thinking about it.
I mean, to me, it's also like, that's the kind of movie that happens when you live in a bubble, like an incredible bubble of like the bit amongst your friends is, you think people get really worked? You seem to get so worked up about your Honey Nut Cheerios. Like, people really care about their cereal. And then just from that germ of a nothing conversation amongst friends who have too much time and way too much money, we now have an entire film dedicated to something no one cares about, written by a man who, why is he making it? Only God knows. He thought the bit was good, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Like, I don't know. It just felt like too, and it's like, did you ever see the movie with, what are their stupid names? Owen Wilson and what's his face, tall guy, Vince Vaughn.
Which one, like the internship?
The internship with Google.
I want to say I lasted 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, so that's the right thing. I watched the whole thing. And so, actually, it's funny. The only like genuinely funny moment in that movie happens at the end, and it made me think of you. And
Wonderful.
It's just great. Like, this like tech guy gets up and he has to like give like a talk in front of the crowd, and then he turns to like the bad guy, who also is 100% in the right, and like turns to like the bad guy, and he was just like, yeah, like, you know, you've got a bad personality, you don't match our culture, and also because of you, I just, listen to me, I just had to get up in front of a lot of people and talk, and like, seriously, look at me, fuck you for that. And I was like, I was just like, thought of you with that, because that's the most accurate like computer science tech guy thing. Like, dude, because of you, I just had to say a whole lot of shit without any planning in front of like 100 people. Like, fuck you. Like, it was
go off the cuff, and I'm not telling bits. Stop
yeah,
it.
it's like, I hate that. Yeah, but it's like, so that movie I always described as like corporate propaganda. Like, I feel like Google absolutely produced it. Like, there's lines where characters monologue where they're like, they embody the culture of Google, the true independent thinking and outside the boxedness that makes Google what it is, more than just a business. And it's like, I remember watching and be like, this is fucking gross. And like,
you had like Google brand people in the room when that shit got written, and it always rings so disgustingly hollow when you feel like you can sniff it out, you know? It's like, ew, someone with brand guidelines helped craft this sentence. And that's what they would call it. They were crafting the image.
Yeah.
Like some shit like that.
Yeah, it was crafting the image and, you know, accurately portraying our unique culture. And it's like, you know, and then I think about how, like, there was the article where I'm pretty sure it was Google, a couple years ago, was like, you know, for cost-saving measures, we're thinking about having people share desk. Like, it's like, you're Google, buy 2 desks. Like, what are you doing?
Yes.
Like, that's insane. And so, like, I don't know, Unfrosted had that energy of it too, where it's just like, I could have even seen this idea working slightly more if it wasn't playing into like products that exist.
Right.
Like, it's all about Pop-Tarts and Frosted Flakes and like Quaker Oats and like, and then they keep talking about like the Keebler chocolate stripe cookies, and it's just like, what? Like, who is this for? Like, it was really one of those like strong who is this for moments with watching a movie where I was like, who's watching this, like who's getting a nostalgia kick out of that too?
Oh my god, those cookies!
Yeah, I remember those. Like, yeah, like, okay, yeah, Keebler Elf. Like, I fuck that movie. Fuck Jerry Seinfeld. All right, sorry to go off on a tangent. That's just like really, I just fucking hate it.
It's very present. It's very present. You know, it was very recent.
I mean,
gotta get it out there.
I was like 4 hours ago. I was sitting through that shit. So it's just like, yeah, it was unreal. All right, so let's jump. We're on to worst picture, the main one.
Taking it home.
I think we're obviously going with the same movie, but it is.
I will go through this list.
I'll let you do
we
it.
have Borderlands, where they list, I think these are the producers, Aviarad, and Eric Feig, who I think, isn't he like, I thought he was the Marvel dude, but it's just, he's some Sony exec, I guess. Joker, Folie à Deux from Warner Brothers, Joseph Garner, who cares about the production people, Todd Phillips, the director, is listed there, Madam Web, Megalopolis, and Reagan. So yeah, with that setting the table, I've seen 4 out of 5 of these movies. Sorry, as we have said many a time, Megalopolis didn't make the cut.
I just literally tried.
And
I couldn't. I tried.
I don't know how you could make a choice other than Borderlands here. It is the least watchable of the movies we saw. It is the one that has the least, I would say, interest in presenting a distinct idea in terms of creative work. It is the one that just struggles at every step of the way to make something that is even worth watching. Not to be too, I mean, that's incredibly mean, but that's just factual. Like, it was the experience feeling it was like, at no point did I feel like I was watching something where it's like, I understand what we're going for here. I kind of get the vision. I also think of like the movies I think that are in a certain tier of bad, like, it's happened to me when I was watching Borderlands and Madame Web. I was surprised to see their budget, given how cheap a lot of the moments in the films looked.
Yes.
Expensive, cheap. It is so surreal to see. Like, it reminds, like, yeah, I don't know. The effect to me is like seeing hokey CGI from the 90s and early 2000s again in the modern era, just being like, oh my God, we thought this was cool. And this one's more of just like, oh my God, where budget go? What happened?
Yeah, what happened to the money, Eli?
Yeah, there's so much of it. Just an out and out, like, utterly devoid of joy. Like, I think that's the easy, like, to me, the bright, like, the highlight for discussing Borderlands starts with a joyless film. In a space that's supposed to be fun, campy, and, like,
exciting,
sort of
like action.
Yeah, percolated with the love of the space that it's inhabiting, of like the mythology of the universe it's inhabiting. It is just utterly joyless, utterly uninteresting to watch. I still like it is I think the movie out of this pile too where I was most eager to turn it off. Just like there was nothing there. There was nothing there to really hold on to. It is incredibly bad. For the others, the only other things left to say, I think I hit everything I want to say about Reagan when we were discussing up front, like, worst screenplay. There's nothing really more for me to say. Madame Web was just, I don't know if there's any specific. So I think Joker, the only thing I really want to hit on too is like Joker 2. The one thing about like the most interesting thing to me about this movie, and in terms of worst pictures, the harshest thing I can say about it was that it was boring for me. Like, I just not deeply engaged at any point. I didn't think, and the thing that really frustrated me is like half of a fan of the space is like, as a musical, it didn't really function that well,
right?
In terms of either revealing the inner emotional struggle or state of the people who are singing the songs. So that's the typical thing I would expect with a musical. Like, we're furthering the plot, we're understanding our characters more, we're coming to see how the world really is truly felt for the characters, because there's just nothing but pure honesty coming through in the moment of the song. And it didn't really work from the reading that I forget where I exactly picked it up. It was a review I think I saw or read from Joker 2 that tries to cast the musical sequences in the film as sort of a reflection of exclusively Arthur Fleck / the Joker's internal mental state. And if that was the actual bent, I didn't get really a strong enough sense of like a distortion of reality was occurring while the songs were playing. Like, sure, they turn into like theatrical pieces, like either a talk show or when it was in the courtroom, there's a spotlight, like very clearly surreal activity is occurring. But I didn't feel like any of the other bits of visual language there really lent themselves to showing off that this is sort of Arthur's mind unraveling on itself or contorting reality into some better, more palatable shape for him, given the facts he's actually facing. Like, it didn't really nail that for me when I was watching it. But yeah, it doesn't belong on this list at all. And not at all. Like, I would say, like, the worst things you can say about, like, Madame Web and Reagan are, like, they're kind of bankrupt of interesting original ideas. Like, they're ripping something else off most of the time, or they're just making another superhero movie, right? Like, Reagan's just trying to be the average, hagiography. Madame Web's the average superhero movie. Bankrupt of ideas. And Borderlands, joyless and uninterested in doing anything. Like, I think that's the most baffling thing about it. It's like, we have to make a movie, feels like the punchline there. The other two, at least, it's like we have to make a underscore, like fill in a blank Mad Libs moment of a movie, and then it's like we can copy a couple of tropes and things to fill in here to make it better. Borderlands, I would say, is almost like non-functional as a movie.
It's broken. That's what I've described it as. It's an incomplete product. Like, it feels like it's not an actual, like, movie.
Yep.
Like Borderlands. Yeah, like it's just they feel like they started to make a movie and then stopped. Like I don't understand like what you're supposed to get from it. Like I think yeah, so like Borderlands, I think you nailed it where it's like it's not exciting, it's not fun, it's not funny, it looks bad. The fucking hovercraft chase scene,
oh god,
those like
yeah.
flying bikes, that was some of the worst like Spy Kids level green screen. Like it really felt like a time hop. Like it really felt like you were watching an early 2000s graphic. Like it was bad. Just really bad. And then, you know, in a game series where it's all about these huge, magnificent worlds, right? I mean, if you're gonna go like 1 or 2, it's like kind of Pandora, which is just like a desert, but it's still decorated with shit. Like, it felt small. Like the focus,
Yeah.
it felt small. It felt like the set was very small. Like, and it's supposed to be this huge world, which they express that it's a huge world. But then the traveling never really made sense for it being a huge world.
Right.
Because, like, I don't know, they're, like, doing it on foot. And it's like, oh, you walked, like, 80 miles. Like, it's like, shit like that didn't make sense from it. Yeah, coming as, like, a fan of the game, like, just as an adaptation, shit the bed every direction. Like, there wasn't good action. The action looked bad. I mean, there's, like, parts where, like, Roland's shooting people. It was one of my favorite little, like, voiceover things. And he's like, yeah, you get a bullet, you get a bullet, and you get a bullet. It's supposed to be like an Oprah Winfrey bit, I guess. And he wasn't talking in that scene, so his mouth is closed. And he just has going over. It looks so stupid, and like, the violence looked bad. The comedy wasn't funny. There was like that scene where they're in the city, which looked kind of cool, where people had the light up mask. I'll give him credit.
Yep.
There were like a couple little things that looked neat. Like, but very few. And yeah, it was poorly put together. You could tell the rewrites didn't work. The character progression didn't work. The stakes never felt like they were like there. And then, yeah, like Lilith and Tiny Tina suddenly having this like bond. Where the fuck did that come from? Where did that come from? Like, it was the most nothing. Like, nothing happened, and suddenly she's like, yeah, baby girl. Like, I just didn't get it. And then, I mean, something they really botched with Borderlands movie, too, is if you've never played the game, you have no idea what the fuck a siren is.
Oh, yeah.
And then at the end, Lilith is just, like, revealed to be a siren, and they're like, oh, she's a siren. And then, like, it's like, if someone's dad is watching that movie, and if you're going to be so dishonest and so, like, Eli Roth's, like, weird ego thing about being like, well, I'm not just doing, you know, the game story, even though 2 is regarded as, like, one of the best, like, stories in a game, and Handsome Jack's one of the best villains. Sure, leave out that. Like, if you're going to, like, cut out that stuff, then you have to do the exposition. Like, no one knows what the fuck a siren is. Like, when she just starts flying, like, that is so out of nowhere for the average person.
Yup.
Like, if you don't know what that is, that makes no sense to see that out of nowhere. Yeah, and it's like, you had what, like $100 million, $110 million? Where the hell did it go? Like, it looked like shit. And, like, Borderlands also is just, like, another thing drove me insane. The game is famous primarily for the variety of weapons.
Yes.
That's what Borderlands is famous for. The guns and all the weird things that the different types of guns do. The manufacturers, how they have different, like, features. Like, where was that? Like, I think they had 2 identifiable guns. Lilith had the Infinity Pistol, which is never referenced to be... Oh, no, I think actually Marcus might have made a comment about being an Infinity Pistol. He might have said something.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, okay, I saw this a while ago. So yeah, he comments on an Infinity Pistol, which again, I don't think... Again, someone at home's like, okay. Like, if they've never seen it, they don't know what that is. And then Tiny Tina has... I think it was a Torg rocket launcher. Those are the only 2 things that are, like, recognizable, where you're like, oh, those are the guns from the game. It's like, they could have had Malawan weapons, which are doing all of like the corrosive and fire and electric bullets like going off. You could have had really cool visuals from that. They could have done more Torg weapons where you could have had all different types of explosions going on. You could have had, you know, people with like the Jacobs and stuff like that. It seemed like everyone just had Dahl, which is like the most boring gun in the Borderlands universe. It's just gun. Like, it doesn't really do anything. It's just gun, you know? And it's like, yeah, it was like, dude, come on. Like, it's like, you're not really like having like people use like powers. You're not having them have like special ability. Did Kevin Hart have like the automated turret? Did he have?
I don't even remember it. I just remember him having like some burst assault rifle nonsense.
Yeah. So that would have been that's a doll from like the first and second game. They do burst fire. That's like their big thing. So like, yeah, like even like Roland the Super Soldier is supposed to have this like robotic turret that he throws out that like shoots shit up. So it's like you don't have that. Like it's just like, what are we going for here? You know, like it's just like you had all these things you could have used that you didn't use. Yeah, characters' relationships didn't make any sense. I didn't understand the chick at the end out of nowhere being like, wait, don't shoot them. I'm on Roland's side now. And then she gets killed. Like, we're supposed to care about that? Like, it was just awful. Every aspect. We saw it in theaters, and we saw it, like, close to opening, too. It was like, we did not wait to see it. Because I told Dana, I was like, we can't wait to see it. That's going to get pulled from theaters very soon. Like, I was like, we have to see this really quickly. It was the two of us, and then there was one other guy that was in there alone, and then there was this guy that came in, sat in the back row with us. After like a few minutes, the movie starts. The movie was like 5 minutes in. This guy comes in, sits down there. I want to say 15 minutes later, I just hear the guy. And I got the vibe that he was a theater hopper. Like, I think he saw another movie and then just walked in to watch this one also.
Yeah.
And like, he just sat there and it was great. Maybe 10 minutes went by, 10, 15 minutes, and I just hear him go, and just stands up and walks out. And I was like, yeah, that was a really accurate thing to do. Like, that was the correct response to Borderlands. Like, and then the guy that was sitting alone was a few rows in front of us. I'm pretty sure he fell asleep. I think I remember I think I remember him snoring. Because I remember going to look, because at one point I stood up and started just walking around a little bit in the theater. Like, I was just pacing because I was like, oh my god, this is awful. I said to Dana, like, early in, I was like, I kind of want to leave. And she was just like, no, we're like hate watching. I'm like, it's not even enough to hate watch. Like, I was like, I just don't want to see this. I was like, this is so boring. Like, I was just on my phone through most of it. Like, I was like, this is just awful. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen something where I was like just that not entertained. And I know a lot about the production process. Like, I followed articles. I mean, this movie took 9 years to get out. Like, it's like 9 years. Eli Roth fucked every single step of the way. He was a bad choice for the director to begin with. Like, he should have never been the director of something like this. And yeah, I would love to know what that original screenplay was. Yeah, I would really like to know. I bet it was better. I can't imagine it would be worse. Joker, yeah, Joker's fine. I think it's a good movie. I agree with your take of like the musical numbers not exactly like capturing and expressing like Arthur's mental state, or like that it's like in any way like dissociation and coping with your surrounding and bad situation and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I thought it was fine. I didn't like the whole group hate thing from the internet. I didn't like that reviews were just like repeating false things about it that others were saying. Yeah. Like, you know, I saw a lot of reviews where people were like, he's not even the Joker in this. And it's like, that's not true. Like, yes, he is. He's the Joker in it. Yeah. And then, I mean, and that goes towards the production studio, too. I didn't appreciate the cinematographer coming out and being like, well, it's not, like, really a musical. Like, yeah, fuck it is. Like, I didn't like that either. But, yeah, I hated, you know, just the reviews, the culture around Joker. And then that's kind of what happened to Megalopolis, too. And you just get that because of, like, algorithms and people trying to get, like, engagement. I think that's why these two movies are on here, honestly. Madame Web, pretty awful. Like, just like all around shit. Yeah, I did actually, because just to say like a positive thing about it, some of the scenes where it was like her powers coming to be, and she's in that like mental spider realm.
Yes.
I kind of liked those visually with like the like little like light webs connecting.
Yes.
I thought it actually looked kind of cool. I was like, oh, actually, I remember, like in a bad movie, I actually sat there and went, it looks nice. Yeah, but a really shitty attempt at launching a series of movies. They fucked that up pretty badly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Oh my god, the ADR criticism is so fucking accurate. The scene with the guy where he's talking to his chick with all her computers that he bought or stole from the NSA to track these people, and it was so jarring too because like her shit wasn't like dubbed in, but his was.
Right. Yeah, very obviously, it's like there are two people having different conversations in different rooms.
Yeah, it just sounded terrible. Yeah, so I mean, like seeing that being worst picture, I would definitely put that over Joker. Megalopolis, from what I've seen of it and stuff like that, I think it's probably a failed attempt, but at least an attempt that did some interesting things. And then Reagan
Oh
fucking sucked.
god, yeah.
Reagan was awful. I would say. Do you think Reagan's worse than Madam Web? What do you think? Madam Web might be worse. I don't know.
I think I found like, I guess it's like two different sort of psychic damages you're incurring while watching those movies. Like Madam Web is bad, sure. It's a bad movie. But it's sort of like kind of moving along at a certain pace where things are kind of happening. But I mean, I know I'm saying this all, and I know in my notes I wrote, how is this movie so long with so little happening?
How's it still going?
Like, it's still going and we haven't done anything. Didn't she just go to Peru for a week out of nowhere? Like,
yeah, what was with that shit? That made no sense.
That was because in the opening, her birth scene at the start of the film, the spider people said, when you need answers, come back. That's the whole reason she went back to Peru, because she needed to get closure on how to actually use her, fucking see through the source code superpowers. God, this is actually tougher now as I talk about Madam Web's very, very limited virtues. Jesus, dude.
I love that you can continue to talk yourself into hating it more. Like you're so
no, it's just, it's not even that. It's just, no, it's more of like, as I try to mount a defense where it's like, I think Reagan's the worst movie. It's just like, so Reagan it's not only is it a bad movie, it's incurring psychic damage because I know just enough about the history to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? 9 times out of 10. Where they're talking about the strategic arms limitations treaties that were passed prior to fucking Reagan getting in office, and he's like, I'm gonna make sure there are fewer nukes than there have ever been in the history of the world, blah blah blah, and all that bullshit. It's like, I don't know if that really rated, right? It's just like, glossing over all like several major moments in history just to sort of reframe them as no, this was a Ronald Reagan win. This is something authored and co-signed by his fucking big mighty brain. I forget at what point, like, it was before he was even running for governor of California. So it was like early 60s. He apparently has the brilliant idea to understand that, the USSR, they just don't have as much money as us. If we make it a spending war, we'll beat them. And it's like, oh my God, Ronald Reagan foresaw how to beat the Soviet Union prior to even stepping foot in government. This Soviet spy is so smart for seeing through it all and figuring that out.
Right.
Like, Madam Web is insulting because it's bad and boring and not much happens. But, like, whatever. The stakes are so low, it's a superhero movie. Reagan is that, plus it's a historical figure that has some bearing on how, like, it might have some small impact on how history is appreciated, and the fact that that exists is, like, just that much more offensive than Madam Web could ever be. So, in this one-on-one fight, this duel to the death, I think Reagan's probably the worst movie out of the two. Just ahistorical and gross in a lot of ways. That Madam Web, where it's like kind of boring and unwatchable and weird in certain spots, at the end of the day is just trying to be a superhero movie where it's hitting all those marks. But Reagan, like, fucking give me a break.
I like that you said gross, because exactly what I planned on saying was Madam Web fucking sucked. Reagan was gross. That was exactly the clip I had in my head ready to say. Like, yeah, Madam Web sucked. It's a shit movie. It was hard to watch. I had to do it on 2 separate viewings. Like, a lot of these I had to split. I couldn't do them in solid sit-throughs. But, like, Reagan, like, yeah, I don't know. It's like when you're dating someone and you know they cheated on you and they just lie to your face and you're like, that's not what happened. Like, it's like, are you gaslighting me? Like, it's like, yeah, it's dishonest. It's shitty. It's giving him credit for things he didn't do. It's not giving him the blame for bad things that he did do. Like, to just gloss over the AIDS epidemic the way they did was, like, just awful. It's literally like a clip where they're showing like a montage on a TV, I think.
Yep.
And then like it just like, I'm not even kidding. I think there's like a thing. It's like font pops up on the screen, and it's just like, some people say that the spread of AIDS was, Ronald Reagan's fault for lack of activity. It's like, yeah, that's what happened. He hated gay people. He hated gay people and black people and drug users, and thought that was the only people that would ever be affected by this virus. So he didn't give a shit. Like, I mean, it's like, God, the Just Say No campaign, like, fuck him. Like, I fucking hate Reagan so much. And to see this movie try to make him this, like, American hero, and yeah, giving him credit for shit that he didn't do. Like, it felt shitty and stupid. And you know what? People are going to fucking look at this as a source of information. It just, like, it's like Oppenheimer. How, like, we both had our issues with Oppenheimer where it was just like, that's not what happened. Like, or that's a thing someone said 40 years later. Yeah. It's like, it's a thing someone said in an interview, not what happened when they were doing it. Like, God, I mean, I don't know if Reagan's maybe necessarily as atrocious. Like, Reagan's definitely not as, like, I don't want to say Oppenheimer's a good movie. Oppenheimer's better than Reagan in terms of being a movie. Oppenheimer was maybe more gross with, like, its lies historically. Like, I don't know. The whole thing of him fucking and reading the fucking "Now I Am Become Death" while fucking. Oh, yeah. Literally, I thought that was a fucking meme. When I saw that was actually in the movie, I was like... And then, I'm not going to say his name, but I had a friend that liked the movie a lot. And we were at, like, a party, and someone mentioned they were, like, brought it up, and he goes, yeah, I have to say that's probably one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. And I turned and I went, no, it's not. And he's like, what? I was like, it's not. There's no way that's one of your top 5 favorite movies. And he's like, why are you saying that? I was like, because that movie fucking sucked, dude. I was like, that movie was awful. And I was like, and I talked about that scene. And I was like, that didn't happen. He's like, well, we don't know it didn't happen. I was like, no. That didn't happen. Like, no, it didn't. And it's just like, yeah, I don't know. There's nothing worse than when you're friends. I couldn't imagine being friends with someone that, like, loves the Reagan movie.
Oh, God.
Like, how do you even approach that?
I think you're just living in 2 totally different worlds. Because, like, one of the fun things about the Reagan movie, too, just as it being on this list, is, like, you kind of have to go out of your way to seek this movie out. The rest of them, there's, like, a defensible chance that you saw this in theaters for some reason or another. Reagan, I think, like, you're already in the cult or you're already in that social circle where this shit is your jam, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like, this feels like a very, like, Reagan felt like a very, like, Daily Wire movie.
Yes. I was honestly thinking of Lady Ballers while the movie was starting. I was like, this feels very much like that level of production effort, and like this is the group it's trying to hit.
Yeah, so like, yeah, there's enough concerns like this. Like, I could see, like, Reagan. Honestly, Reagan felt like if you made a movie about Dick Nixon and you, like, really underplayed Watergate and made it, like, an understandable thing to do. Like, you're like, he's trying to help. Like, it's just I don't know, man. Like, he opened up trade with, China. It's like, okay. Like, it just had that kind of vibe to it. So,
for sure.
Yeah, I think in, like, order of, like, worst to best. And I'm going to fucking rank Megalopolis. I don't care. I feel like I can place it accurately.
Hell yeah.
Borderlands.
Confidence.
Yeah, I know enough about movies. Borderlands, worst. Reagan, second worst. Madame Web, third worst. Megalopolis, fourth. Joker's the best one on the list.
Yep. I would, again, in the blind about Mega, I would still take that order.
Yeah. I think that's like actually the correct order of this. This was a fucking grind. I thought this was going to be more fun to do, but watching these movies fucking hurt. Like
it really did. I am glad I saved Joker for last because getting through the first three, I think doing those three would have been a lot harder having like nothing to look forward to.
Yeah, I think if you knocked out Joker, I mean, maybe it would have given you some hope about them. And like, I am disappointed that neither one of us got to see Megalopolis.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we might just come together, see it at the same time, and just talk about it later. But like, yeah, I eventually think has to get broader distribution because I can't imagine sitting on that movie and just never having it out anywhere because I don't even know what the rationale would be. Like, the public doesn't deserve to see it if they're gonna shit on it this much. I have no idea. Or maybe there's just some weird, most likely thing, legal morass it's stuck in for some godforsaken reason. That's why we don't have it on any streaming services, and it's very clearly not going to be playing in theaters anytime soon again.
From what I've found online, the production studio that made it has like what do you call it? Like an exclusive streaming deal with Peacock. Mm-hmm. But I think Peacock still has to like pay for it. So it's like it can only go to Peacock, but they have to pay for it. And
knowing what you know about that movie, you're going to actually throw good money at it to get it on your platform.
Is it going to get enough people watching it? Yeah, so I think it's in a weird limbo because of that. I think it's just kind of stuck.
Well, hopefully that limbo is solved one day.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to see it. Like,
I am now curious, and mostly because of this exercise, but you know, it's always so more enticing because, hey, I can't see it now.
I know. I kind of want it now that I can't have it.
Natch.
I really want to see Megalopolis.
You know, a bunch of people were saying that before it came out.
Ugh, those poor people.